And I know you're busy with the UCB Christmas show that you guys are doing this year, you know?
It's a big one, yeah.
Yeah. It's beginning to look a lot like fill in the blank, everybody. You know what I mean? Zip Zap or whatever the fuck they're doing over
Zop.
there. Zop, is that it?
Yeah, you don't forget the Zop.
Just give us 2 occupations and a reason why we're sitting in this chair.
Gynecologist.
Proctologist. Well, I missed by this much. You know how close the asshole is to the genitals. What's lined up this year? Going to take a good look at the Charlie Brown Christmas and you guys do it?
Yeah, I think so. We're just going to watch it and then we're going to recreate it on stage and pretend like that's
You're
comedy.
clearly Schroeder, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope so.
Love it. I love this.
He gives Schroeder vibes, I feel.
Thank you.
What do you got planned over your Christmas break, Andy?
I'm going home to the desert, going to see the folks, and then we're going to Florida to Miami for New Year's.
Wow.
Those are the big plans.
That is a warm way.
Very hot.
Really jealous of
I know.
the heat factor of your holiday season.
Yeah, I'm ready to get out of the cold. It very much confuses my body. It doesn't understand.
You know what helps? This will help you. Opium. Any kind of opiates at all will warm you up from the inside.
I
You
think
know what I mean?
that's popular.
You know
too.
how you want to sweat on the inside.
I always say it's chicken soup for the soul.
You do?
Yeah, I think that's what that book's about. It's about a young junkie living in Upper Manhattan.
God, those were huge. Those books were incredible.
Why wouldn't they be? You know, I need a little pick-me-up every once in a while.
Are you going to be traveling with your brother as well? Like you guys both going home?
Yes, he'll also be in Arizona. I don't think he's following us for New Year's, though.
Oh,
so
boy.
I'll be alone in Miami with my Cuban relatives. It'll be great.
Sexy.
Yeah, maybe planning on Bay of Pigs, too. You going to get a Cuban sandwich while you're down there?
Always, yeah.
Get a picture for your Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, just eat like, yummies. Put something like that on
Yummers.
And
Yeah.
tag us so we can repost it.
And then
there. Chris, have we heard back from Hoagie Dom right now yet? Because, man, I'm on it with him. You know, he was all excited that we brought up his site, and then he wants to get a thing for his mom so she could hear that. You know, the site was being talked about, or his, what would you call it, Instagram page?
Account, yeah.
And then I'm like, well, just come in. You know?
Yeah,
Let's
why
give
not?
that to your mom for Christmas.
Of course.
Yeah. And if you want, Andy can do all the Cuban sandwiches.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he can be Ruizing as a way of catching up over that Jersey,
Gotta do it.
Miami thing over the Cuban sandwich when Carl Ruiz upset the Cuban community
Yeah.
by saying Miami did not have the best Cuban sandwiches New Jersey did.
I have heard, though, that any Cuban sandwich in Miami is better than any Cuban sandwich in Cuba. I've heard that many
Wow,
times.
really?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Because of the lack of quality ingredients.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't
So
it?
actually a Cuban sandwich is better in Miami.
Just like Brooklyn Italian food is better than Italy Italian
right,
food
exactly.
because the lack
we
of
get the good stuff.
giant meatballs over
They
there.
don't have the size factor that
No.
we enjoy so much.
Not even in their waiters.
They don't have the quantity of cheese that we need. Nothing.
If I'm in an Italian restaurant and I see a thin waiter, I'll just go like this. Oh, excuse me, I guess I'm in the wrong place. Take this menu back.
I don't like vegan food, so I'm going
Right.
to leave.
Those vegans, huh?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I was in a line for soup the other day, and a woman was holding up the line. She's like, "Is there any meat in the vegetarian chili?" I'm gonna answer that question
Yeah.
for you. No, and then the guy was like, "No," and she's like, "Can you be sure?" And he's like, all nervous now. So now he's going back and talking like, "Is there any way?" And we're all like, "There's no meat in it.
No.
There's no meat in it."
How is it chili without meat though? You know what I mean? Isn't
It's
it
just
something?
bean based.
Then just say, hey, would you like a fucking bowl of beans?
Yeah, but
You can't call it chili. The fucking meat is what gives the fucking.
the chill.
this place.
Thank you.
This place has both meat and vegetarian option for chili, and she was really adamant. Why would there be two options then? You know what I mean? Like if there was meat in the vegetarian
Just
chili,
fucking eat whatever you got, lady. You're lucky enough. You know
Why
what?
would there be a
You
meat
can't eat a
option?
little meat. You can have just a little bit of meat in there. And it's going to add to the taste.
my
bowl of
cousin,
meat.
my cousin is a vegetarian, and one time she's like, "Yeah, I eat no meat. Oh, except for pork fried rice." And I was like, that's weird. Why?
Yeah.
And she's like, it's so tiny.
Yeah, she's right.
Yeah.
And she's like, and the vegetarian fried rice sucks. It just doesn't taste good.
What cousin is this?
Irene.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was like, she wasn't even like a vegetarian for health reasons. She was like a little girl. It
Yeah.
was like, I can't eat an animal. Like
That's
she
not
just
right.
freaked out. It wasn't even like, oh, I'm a good person. So it was like the thought of chewing up an animal and swallowing it as a little like 5-year-old girl.
I had a friend who did the same thing. That like at 4 years old, she was like, "Why are we calling this chicken?" And then also the animal is chicken. And then
Right.
her parents are like, "Well, that's the animal." And then we cook that animal. And she's like, "Well, I'm done." So because she was like 4 years old, she hasn't had most meats.
Right.
So she's like, I know for a fact I've never had a steak before. Like she's never even tried these things. And I'm like, I feel like you should have to try
But-
and then recommit yourself. To
But
no
see,
meat
here's the
later
thing.
on.
The idea of eating flesh is gross to her. I mean, the thing is, that's the non-crazy way to look at it. What I do, gnawing on a bone,
Yeah.
is fucking insane.
And even more insane than that is like this weird in-between zone that we have where we don't have a relationship with our meat anymore. And so we're like, yeah, I'll eat steak. Yeah, I'll eat a burger. But then if you see, a carcass or someone, a butcher, and you're just like, oh, that's too intense. Or I don't like to handle too much raw
Well, they don't
food.
want
They're
to
like,
kill it.
Right.
They honestly feel like, how could someone kill an animal? You're eating a murdered animal.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up and just fucking enjoy all of it.
It tastes
or
good.
none of it. Join that little girl who is disgusted by it. But, the whole thing of, hey, why don't you try it before you... That's like saying to somebody, for all I know, a fucking toddler might taste delicious.
Right.
I mean, I've seen some fat little babies that I'm like, I would not mind roasting that in a pan.
That's like human veal.
Yeah. I'm sure it's delicious. But that's not the point. That's
Yeah.
not the reason why I don't eat people. So it's going to be tough. Particularly, I think, for Vito. Who did you have a closer relationship? Vito, Earl, or, I know this doesn't even make sense, but Chris Stanley.
I think me and Vito became best
They
friends.
are very close.
There's no one that you've ever been close to, Chris.
Yeah. Has an
that's
intern
tough.
ever been close to...
Draft House Kid, he would just always complain to about his girlfriend.
Right,
That's-
you're right. I
Yeah.
forgot about
Lies.
that. You could use him,
Right.
you know what I mean, as that
No,
fucking mentor, I guess.
fucking never complained to him about
Dude.
my personal life.
You
My
had
life's
one
in
friend.
hell, you used to say to him.
I never said that.
You had one friend, but really he was just your therapist.
Did that, and then he turned on you, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like gave away your secrets. It's like if you heard your therapist going, "Hey, I got a really funny story. This dumb person comes in." Right? Now, we thought, Andy, since this is your last day, but you are coming back next semester.
I am. I'll be back in the spring.
Wow, and that's after the operation.
That's after. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It'll be a rough transition, but we'll be okay.
Every transition is rough, but we get there.
Yeah,
You know?
it's true.
And- Mm-hmm.
It'll be weird to see him in spring clothes. I've only known winter.
That's
Andy.
true.
It's
Now,
very-
Andy, before you leave, make sure that, the rest of us aren't really like touching type people, but I want you to get a big hug from Vito in his Christmas sweater.
Aw.
Yeah.
Would you allow that?
100%.
His rugged. The sweater is made out of Bounty towels. If you notice.
he really looks
so
like
comforting.
a guy on a romance
I
novel, like
know.
a winter themed romance.
Remember
novel.
the guy who came in, the male model that you liked, Gail, the big guy?
Yeah, Brock O'Hearn.
He's turning into Bronco.
Every
Look at
minute
him.
of the day, he gets closer
I
to my
just need some
love.
highlights. I just
I
need an
know.
ombre.
I know.
Dude, I don't mind. We'll fucking pay for highlights if you want to get
I
them
would
done. I
love
would love
to see,
that.
Because
Yeah.
don't you think Vito's hair color
Look
could
at that.
really be...
You're Brock O'Hearn.
Yeah. That's you, dude. You're like an Italian Brock O'Hearn.
Wait a minute. Why does Bronco look so fat in that picture?
I don't
Is that
know, I'm
supposed to be a
worried.
joke picture?
Yeah,
That's,
it's
that's
supposed-
Fat Thor. That was a hot costume this year.
I didn't know that.
Here he is with a puppy, looking thin.
Oh,
Oh,
my God.
he's good with dogs.
He's so... Like, I need a man like that.
You know what's weird, though? He's a bottom. Never expected it. Never expected it.
Look at, he's so sensitive too. You
Yeah.
know, you can see that he's like thoughtful.
Yeah.
Well, you know, he lives alone in the mountains, and then
Yeah.
he comes down every once in a while and makes gentle sex to nicely.
Looks like there he's dressed for some sort of a period piece.
Yeah, well, that's just he got paid to do that.
Sure. Oh, I like cowboy version. That's a good look.
That's
And
really good.
he's in much better shape than when he did our show.
Yeah, I mean he's.
I mean, look at his stomach there.
that's ridiculous.
That's a 40-pack.
I mean that's pretty much Vito. Like, he's no different.
Well, the difference is Vito took himself off the market. You know?
Yeah.
I think probably a diamond ring this Christmas.
Get it.
Not yet.
Get it.
Not
They
yet.
always say it just takes a couple months. You don't want to
the
wait
thing-
longer than that.
What's the commercial he went to?
Jared?
He went to Jared.
Yeah. Or you could go to K Jewelers with my Santa Daddy.
I noticed that the young girls didn't get the Santa Daddy bit at all.
They did.
I
Yeah.
thought they were like Santa Daddy was like even too old for them.
Maybe,
To them,
yeah.
a daddy is like 27, 28. But they were just looking and like, who's that?
To me, a daddy is a literal daddy.
All right, so it's Andy's last day, and we thought we let him run with his brother's
Yeah.
premise. What's the name of your brother's podcast?
It's Am I the Asshole podcast. It's based on the very popular Reddit Am I the Asshole, so I'm taking the idea that he stole from Reddit.
So you're stealing
love
from
it.
him.
I'm stealing
Great.
from him
I
what he
love
already
it.
stole.
Great.
You know what this is? This is hip hop.
But yeah, I wanted to just give some scenarios, and we can decide whether or not we're assholes in them.
Okay.
The one I thought of for myself was when I first moved to New York, when I learned the rule that when you're in the subway and you see someone with a child and a stroller, you're supposed to ask and help if they need help to carry it up the stairs.
Right.
When I first learned that, I would walk to other staircases to avoid doing that like a coward.
Jesus, Andy.
What am I the asshole, Chris?
Yes, you're the asshole.
I'm going to go with 100%.
For
You're
sure.
the asshole.
I don't see another option.
Surely there's some wiggle room somewhere, right?
I would say this: not everybody. You know what I mean? I mean, not everybody does it.
Yeah.
You know, you're saying that the majority of the world is an asshole. Some people just don't want to help. And in Andy's case, you really think he could take half a stroller?
Yeah. I mean,
I
if
think
you have a
it's-
physical reason that you can.
I genuinely was afraid that I would drop it.
Okay.
And I think I am weak enough to do that consistently.
And let me just say this, and we've all made errors in sports, but dropping a baby is the worst error
Yeah.
known to man.
It's not good.
Yeah, I just don't think 100% of the people are going to do everything. It doesn't necessarily make them an asshole, and
Yeah.
I certainly don't expect the feeble to get involved in these things.
No, one time I thought this was great. One time I was helping a woman who was trying to go down the stairs with hers. And she's like, I'm going to take him out because it'll just be safer that way. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And so she takes the baby out, and then she hands me her baby, and then she takes down the stroller. I thought that was really funny and
really
very
sweet.
trusting.
That's really
like, I thought she
sweet.
was going to make me carry the heavy stroller down.
No.
But I got the baby, which was pretty cool.
You should have turned and ran with it, screaming, "I got a baby! I finally got a baby!"
Just kidding, man. Sorry. Good prank, though, right?
I would love to keep a Subway baby.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Oh, look who wants a baby now! Yeah,
Santa
there's a
Daddy.
crack. I bet he has a baby this Christmas.
There's no babies
Is
in my
she
future.
already pregnant? Just
No.
tell
Dude,
us.
No
if
one
she
fucking
Wink if
is-
she is.
No.
If she is, can we all go in? When she's having the baby.
There's no baby coming.
Just, I'm not the whole time. Just when
Yeah.
she starts crowning, I want to
What?
go in.
Yeah.
No. There's no baby. There's no baby in my future.
I could help her. I've been through it. You know?
Thank you for the offer. I appreciate that.
I'll be there.
But there is no baby coming. There's no
Are you
baby.
saying you guys decided to go in the other direction, abortion clinic?
There's no
I
pregnancies.
guess we found out who the asshole of this
Yeah.
is. Chris. Andy, you got another one for us? Because that one seemed to be an easy one for
Yeah.
the kids. And quite frankly, I lied just to try to keep it going a little
sure.
bit. But
That was
Really?
a pretty clear-cut case.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another scenario from my personal experience, I have rats in my apartment. It's been really
Not
bad.
mice, rats.
I know they are Harlem Street rats. We live on 143rd, and our building is full of large rats. Vito is looking at me weird.
It's an Upper West Side thing. Vito knows this, that the one part of the city, and this happens like every 7-8 years, that gets an infusion is the Upper West Side with rats.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's no other part of the city.
It's they do a takeover.
because a lot of restaurants, a lot of just bars and stuff. So
By the way, did you see you had a murder up that way? The young girl got
yeah, I
murdered?
saw that.
Oh
Yeah.
my god,
That's
that
scary.
was so upsetting.
Well,
Like
what's
Columbia.
scary is as soon as this murder happens, you're getting out of town. And I don't want to say there's a connection,
oh my god.
but you may be the Morningside Strangler.
Look, the things I do when I'm out of the studio is no one's business.
No.
Oh God.
So I have rats in my apartment.
Yeah.
They're very large. There was one in the living room the other day, and my apartment's very small. The living room is 8 feet from my bedroom. So I asked my brother if I could spend the night, and he said no because he has an hour commute and he is a light sleeper. And I scolded him. Am I the asshole for being mad that my brother wouldn't let me sleep over for one night?
No, you guys are close, though, you said, right?
We are pretty close.
And he's what kind of man is a light sleeper?
Exactly.
I never even heard of that before.
That's a woman's position.
I agree. A man who's like, please, I need total silence is, quite frankly, not
A
a,
woman's
man.
sleeping pattern should be like that of like a little dog at the foot of the bed.
Right.
It's just like,
I
did you
love
hear that? What was that? I thought I heard a sound.
And I think a man should be able to sleep in the middle of a highway. You know,
Yeah.
what's that little strip called?
Yeah.
It's the
The median?
Thank you. He should be able to sleep in the median. I mean, that's why, like, if you're in lockup, you can lay down on the floor and sleep, and you know what I mean. People are like, how was last night? You're like, oh no, I slept through it all. Got a good 11 hours in
Yeah.
while I was drunk.
It's nice.
No, I think you're. I think maybe you should stab your brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then you're justified. No, I would be annoyed for sure if somebody said, if your own brother was just like, nah, I can't do that solid.
Why didn't you kill the rat, like with a bat or?
It got away. We lost it, and then we screamed. We called the super, and he came over and he patched the hole. But it took a whole day for that to
Right.
happen.
Right.
What do you put in there? Like fucking steel wool?
Yeah, steel wool and a large wooden board.
They all think steel wool
Yeah.
is the fucking
They're scared
end
of
to
it.
everybody's problems.
I had a friend who had a mouse infestation, and then, like, they came in, the super put the steel wool, and then she came home from work, and she said they chewed through the steel wool, and there was little bloody footprints all over.
Yeah,
Oh God.
because I guess they're starving or
Yeah.
whatever.
They're just like,
Fucking
they're obsessive. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, what else they got to do? You know what I mean? I mean, one thing that fucking mice. The cartoons have been just throwing bullshit at us all these years. They're much more aggressive than those. Avita, who's the asshole?
Well, I think you might be the asshole, and I'm so, as your best friend, dude.
Okay.
As your best friend, I feel like you're putting your comfort ahead of your brother's comfort.
It's a different type of thing of comfort, though. Let's say that his brother wasn't comfortable sharing food and Andy was starving. You know what I mean? Like, he's freaked out. There's a fucking big toothed rat
could
ready
have
to
the
bite
plague.
into him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We live in New York, man. You gotta get used to rats.
No,
Nobody.
Come on,
Nobody's
nobody
used
wants
to
a
rat.
rat
Not
in
in
their
your
home.
home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a rat is, first of all, a mouse is disturbing enough. A mouse
Right.
in your house can ruin your life.
A rat in my house, I'm moving.
Yeah,
I'm
a rat
I'm leaving.
is too far.
I'm done with this fucking place.
That's horrifying.
I don't want to see a rat outside.
That's just like a step below. Just like, okay, so we have a possum in our house.
No,
Who
no, no,
cares?
no. It's worse than a possum. It's worse than a possum. Chris, who's the asshole?
Andy's brother's the asshole.
Yeah.
There's a fucking rat in your house. You should be
I
able
don't
to
even know how
fucking-
you can be friends with him now.
Yeah, I'm rethinking the whole
Dude,
thing.
come on, man. I'm telling you how it is.
You're being too real with me, man.
Sorry.
We've also, there's like a history. We've had many rats, and there was at one point, it was deeply horrifying. A rat got into my roommate's bedroom, and he may have woken up and it touched him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's not a life I want to be living.
Earl grew up in the hood where it was. I read some of his poems in terms rats popped up quite a few times. Earl, what do you think?
Your bro's an asshole because you get. I mean, you were in distress. Like, take the rat out of it. It's like, hey, I need someplace to crash.
No matter what he needed,
Yes.
your brother, you got to be there for your
You
brother.
got to be there for your brother.
That's actually a good call. Even if it's like, to your brother, I'm having nightmares.
Yeah, I think there's a ghost in my house. That's unreasonable, but come on over.
Come on over.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Who the fuck? And by the way, what's the matter whether you got a fucking hour commute or not?
Also, like, light sleeper. You see how quiet this kid is?
I know.
I don't make a
It's like a
sound.
ninja.
Yeah.
I know.
Every time he's in the studio, I'm like, huh,
Yeah, I know.
Andy.
Fucking
you're
moves
there.
around like tissue paper. Vito, I think that you made up your thing just to try to be different. And
No,
you know what? We all see through it. It's
Yeah,
fucking
look,
disgusting.
I get it. You're like a cool guy in your sexy man Christmas sweater.
So hot.
What?
Sarcasm.
Do we have like some sort of a bearskin rug he can pose on with that? Like a fireside
So we go to
moment?
Amazon.
That's what he needs.
I'm transparent, guys. You can see right through me, but I'm not lying to you.
All right. Do you have any more of these?
I pulled one from Reddit that I thought was pretty
Finally, a
good.
good
just
one
with the
then.
title. Yeah, we're just going to the good stuff. Am I the asshole for peeing in my boyfriend's trash can?
Nope.
And
Oh, wait, go on.
basically, what happened was a couple were fighting, and the boyfriend locked himself in the bathroom out of anger and wouldn't open the door. And she was knocking really loud, saying she had to pee. He wouldn't open, so she.
First of
peed
all,
in the
who
trash can.
fucking what man locks himself
I
in
know.
the
That's a
bathroom?
teen girl move.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even like an adult woman move. That's
No.
a teen girl would be like, I'm in here, leave me alone.
This is fucking horrifying.
Yeah,
this
it's
whole
really
story.
weird.
Terrible
And no,
relationship.
this woman had to pee.
Yeah.
She had to pee.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I've peed in a trash can before in my own apartment
Why
when
you
I
just-
had roommates, and it was horrifying because my new roommate's girlfriend, like, he moved in that day, and I was like running back to the house, like I really, really had to pee, and I come in, and he's like, "Hey, I'm the new roommate. Oh, also my girlfriend's in the shower." And I had to run into my bedroom and pee into my own trash can.
You're lucky. It wasn't like worse.
I got blackout drunk once, and
All right, here we go. Here's confession time is starting.
And,
oh, wow, by the way, look at fucking. He's grossed
You're gross because I
out.
had to pee
Jesus.
into my own trash can.
all bodily fluids. What's wrong with
There
you?
was I would have peed on the floor. What's more gross? To pee in front of my roommate, my brand new roommate. First impression is me urinating on the floor, or go into the privacy of my own bedroom and pee into my trash can.
Trash can is way more polite.
First of all, we're talking to Earl. It's fucking Earl's bit. He was the one that was freaked out.
Yeah, I was a little freaked out. It'd be like you're sitting in your room and all of a sudden you just going into the toilet. Going
You're
into
not
a
making
bucket.
sense. It's Gail
Yeah,
No, I understand that, but
peeing into her own fucking trash can.
yeah, I mean, it's
had
just,
no choice.
I mean, yeah, I understand that there's no choice and you really have to go. It's just the visual of it. This is freaking me out. And I don't know.
Why? You've never peed outside?
More times than I can count,
Well,
but
Yeah.
does the visual of that freak you out?
it was always uncomfortable. But
It's the it's not uncomfortable for a man to piss outside. It's the first time in your life you feel
natural.
free.
It's natural.
You are freaked out by women. That's
Yeah.
the fucking
Yeah.
point I'm trying to make to you.
And it's probably not even pee related. It's probably vagina
It
related.
is vagina
He
related.
hates genitals.
All right, Chris, you were gonna.
So,
try to
all right,
tell-
am I the
Chris the
asshole?
topper is here.
Go
No,
ahead.
am I the asshole? I blacked out once, and then apparently my girlfriend at the time told me I had gotten up in the middle of the night, pissed in a bag of tchotchkes that she had from a trip, and then went back to sleep.
There's a long tradition of blackout drunks peeing in something that is not a bathroom. You know, they don't just get up and pee on the floor. But there was a thing with Kiddison used to do this all the time. He'd get up and piss in a suitcase. Like he would just get up and piss in his suitcase, and the other guys would be laughing and shit.
I have had multiple friends in multiple different circumstances drunk piss in weird places. Piss in a hallway, piss in a sock drawer. These are different guys. One of them pissed on my friend's feet while he was sleeping.
Hot.
One of his bare feet, just started urinating on his bare feet that were hanging off the couch. And then, worst of all, I set my friend up with my roommate, and then he drunkenly peed in our other roommate's makeup bag, just a bag full of makeup, and like literally her makeup was floating in the bag. That was how much urine was in there.
Now, what happened on their next date?
That was the end.
That's surprising.
And to be honest with you, my girlfriends were all like, "Why did you set her up with him?" And I was like, "I didn't think he would pee in your makeup bag. That definitely wasn't my intention."
By the way, I know
very
I've been
fun.
watching Earl. Nothing grossed him out except for you peeing in the trash can. All the
Why?
other stuff, because it was men.
It
and it was
Yeah.
Look,
piss from a dick. That's what
Yeah.
he likes. That's his fucking favorite thing. How about how Earl brags about, I've peed outside more times than I can remember.
So proud.
I first peed outside during the Kennedy administration. The day we heard of Sputnik, I was taking a long piss out next to an oak tree.
do you think it's like just the fact that I'm a woman grosses you
Yes.
out, or is it the position in which women have to pee?
Neither.
We're
Just-
forced to pee.
Just bodily fluids freak me out. Just the idea of just walking into something and seeing it swim in bodily fluids is disgusting to me. I'm gagging just thinking about it.
I didn't say that anything in my trash can was swimming in bodily fluids. I just said I peed in my trash can.
No, when
He's
you
taking
no,
the
no, when you
other
said
thing.
with the thing with the makeup, I
Yeah,
was
but that wasn't Gail.
I
Gail
understand
didn't
that,
pee.
but
No,
just-
you don't understand it. That was a man's piss, and I was watching you, and I saw Earl like this. Perfectly fine. No problem there.
So weird that he would even mouth that. Perfectly fine. He gave a little thumbs up, shook his head like, yeah, it's okay.
Boy power.
But for some reason, a big deal if I'm crouching over my trash can
That makes him
taking a hot
disgusted.
piss.
That makes him disgusted because he always thinks that's where babies come from. He's like Elvis that way.
Yeah, that's true. He believed in the sanctity of a wife's vagina.
Well, what Elvis said was he was never going to put his cock where his baby's head was. So once Lisa, no, it wasn't Lisa Marie, it was the baby. What's his wife?
Priscilla.
Yeah, once Scylla had that baby, he was done thinking of her as a sexual person.
It's strange because, like, someone should have explained, the baby's head is never going to go back in there. You know what I mean? Like, that moment's done.
Well,
So now it's free for dick.
I mean, the truth was Elvis was a hillbilly, so that kind of stuff. But here's the interesting about Elvis. So he couldn't do it. He was grossed out. Then he found out that Scylla had an affair with the karate teacher, so he raped her and then left. That was in all the
Right.
books. He was so turned on by the cuck thing. People do not,
Yeah.
they can't get it through their heads that if you find out you've been cheated on, you definitely want to bang her thinking about it, and then you're done with her.
And now it's ruined.
Yeah, and that's
But it
the
was
way.
good for 1 minute.
That's the way I believe Earl is. I think that's the way
Yeah.
that he sees women. It's the Madonna. It's the whore.
There's no in between.
There's no in between for Earl. That's why he's never taken a bride himself.
Earl, why
because
are,
he'd
why
kill
are you
her.
such a slut shamer?
Slut shamer at all. I just hate bodily fluids. But I love women. I
Why
adore-
you're a fucking human on this planet, right?
Yes.
Why would the fucking body gross you out? Everybody fucking pees. Everybody poops. I'm gonna get you the book.
I understand that, but there's a built-in thing in my head. You pee in a toilet. You pee. But the idea
you
of
think-
First of all, that's not natural, right? To pee in a toilet. This is the newest thing in the history of humans
Yeah.
that we have. A toilet. He sees everything as dirty.
Yeah. I think that the best thing we could do is, what is that? Like kind of like immersion therapy? Where
Yeah.
it's like we put cups of different bodily fluids.
Nice.
And then like first you get near it, then you touch it, then you smell, then taste. And we'll just go through. Pee. Poo.
I volunteer as
Come.
a
tribute.
lot comes.
I think that that's the only way to get Earl to really get comfortable with it. He does have strong reactions to bodily fluids. Was that something related to your fainting too?
Yes.
Like the thought of it, like
Every
back when you were
time-
fainting?
He farted and then fainted.
His own farts.
Yeah. His own farts caused him to faint. Who knows what goes on in that fucking lunatic's head? We can't tell.
It's impossible to tell what
Yeah.
goes on.
You're definitely one of the more unique people I've ever met, though. At least that.
Are you so grossed out by semen that's why you won't jerk off?
Oh, that could be interesting.
It has to be it.
Can I ask you a only slightly personal question? When you did jerk off, where would semen go? Like, were you the kind of like you couldn't look at it or touch it? You had to like clean up right away.
Immediate cleanup, and then generally is always in the bathroom, so I was very close to water.
Always
Ew,
disgusting.
That's
Dude.
gross. You're judging me for peeing.
That's where
Yeah.
your family goes. You're 50.
Also, that's where pee and poo go.
Yeah.
Like, who
I'm not
wants
saying
that?
when I did it when I was 50. I'm
He
talking
goes
about
in when somebody forgot to flush. He just jerks off. Dude, this girl that I was dating, she used to fucking, this is when we were in high school, and she used to date this other buddy of mine, right? Mm-hmm. And that I knew very well, and then she told me, like, the first time I fucking pulled out, she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, fucking, and then she said that he would jump up, run into the bathroom, and jizz into the toilet. And I fucking rolled off the bed laughing.
God.
And she's like, "What? What?" So that was like
so
her
weird.
first. So she was just like,
Like, that's what
"Okay,
men
this would
do."
Yeah. And then as soon as I splashed her titties with it, she's like, "What the fuck? That's for the toilet, dude." And I'm like, "What are you fucking talking about?" I can say the fucking cat's name right now, and then we all have a good laugh at his expense and to tell his kids about it. But isn't that hilarious? I just was like, and I made her pantomime like, "This is for the toilet."
I think some men do have phobias, though, of their own semen. That's like a
Of
thing.
course, you know why? They're so afraid they're gonna eat it.
Because
Earl's afraid he's gonna eat it.
I knew
like
a
it.
girl who was dating a guy who had like a real phobia of his own semen, and like later he kind of went nuts, and we're like, well, we kind of knew that from the first moment.
Come crazy.
But like he would even like after he would come, if he saw it or like during a cleanup situation, he would like start to gag as he was if he looked at
Fucking
it. His
bizarre.
own semen.
Right.
It's just jizz.
That's your babies.
Not your babies. That's the stupidest thing people say. It's not a fucking baby, you conservative fucking cock. Well, Earl, somehow you became the asshole of the show today.
I didn't mean to, but sorry.
I didn't mean to do that. I didn't know.
Did I do that?
Okay, Chris, you just won the fucking morning with one thing. Never before have we connected. This fucking guy's an Urkel. Chris, do your impression of Earl again.
Did I do that?
Spot on.
Dude, you gotta fucking do that for Instagram, Earl. That's gotta become your thing. We'll just call you Grown Up Urkel from this point on. All right, we gotta take a break here, but Andy, God bless you and Godspeed.
We love
with your weird desert Christmas, and then your South Beach New
know, that
Year's, which
part
makes a
sounds
lot
pretty
more
cool.
sense to everybody. Coming up, it's the Dan Soder Unmasked,
It's at 4 p.m.
and then this goes on demand too.
On demand, yes, available on demand.
I gotta fucking tell you the truth. I found that this thing annoys me a little bit. Like, people will follow us on Instagram and like with the Tarantino thing,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Holy shit, is there anywhere that I could hear this?" Like, how many fucking years do we have to say on demand?
On demand.
On demand is where you hear it.
You go on, like, if you're on the app, search Bennington,
And it comes up.
it just comes up. You can listen to
Doesn't
it.
matter. They're still gonna ask.
Demand it yourself. You got to take it into your own hands.
We put
You
it
know
on
what
the on demand every day.
Did I do that?
Did I do that?
So fucking class. Okay, Hoagie Dom is ready to do the show.
Awesome.
We're going to be discussing
Sandwiches.
the great hoagies. All right, that's the Bennington. Bennington show unmasked a little later on this afternoon. The one and only Dan Soder. what a kind of a great time in Dan's life. So many things popping for him, including Billions getting another season. I want to tell you about a couple things that Chris is going to throw up on demand for you right now, and that's two separate interviews we've done with Danny Aiello. Danny Aiello, of course, just passed away, and such a great actor and such a sweet and funny guy. Two separate ones. One, he came in and was like doing a Christmas thing. He had his buddies with him, and it was very, very sweet, and he was fun, and he was crazy, and he just took over the joint. And the other one, which was like a year later at Christmas, both of these were kind of Christmas things. He had just lost his son, and he was very vulnerable and open, and he's just a great guy. If you want to take the time of the Christmas break, Purple Rose of Cairo, Moonstruck, the very underrated, in my opinion, Hudson Hawk. I think he's just great in Hudson Hawk. Leon the Professional, 2 Days in the Valley, Dinner Rush, Do the Right Thing. I mean, he's just had such an amazing career. I want to just tell a very quick Danny Aiello story. This is my favorite. When Madonna was at the top of her fame, she did a video for Papa Don't Preach, and Danny Aiello played her father in this thing. And it was, I think, kind of the early days of putting a star in your video. It was kind of a strange thing, but because everything Madonna did was a big deal, you know, became this controversial thing about her doing, playing an unwed pregnant girl, and is this something we want our kids to see? And then finally somebody's done, it was really, really ridiculously a big thing. And while all the focus was on it, Danny Aiello cut a song called Papa Just Wants What's Good for You, or something like that. Like, he literally stacks on top of the biggest star in the world, and he's doing it in Danny Aiello style, right? It's not a pop song. It's like, Papa just wants, something you'd expect to hear at a lounge in New Jersey. And of course, Madonna's people were freaked out about it, but it was so damn funny. It was the funniest thing ever that he would do that. He was really an amazing actor and a really sweet guy, and pretty much grew up in the same neighborhood as Vito. So we're going to go out and we're going to play this for you today. But if you get the opportunity, please go to On Demand and listen both to these, sometime between now and the end of the year, because he was just great. And it's one of the real pleasures of my life to have these experiences, and I thank you all for it. Danny Aiello on Bennington.
Love me, my darling, and say that you'll always be mine. Love me, my darling, and say that you'll always be mine. Love me, my darling, and say that you'll always be mine.
He's singing it. It was him singing it. He had it, so I couldn't reach it.
Danny Aiello, my life on the street, on stage, and in the movies. I only know who I am when I'm somebody else. You can go out and see Danny tonight, Bookends in Ridgewood, New Jersey, Barnes & Noble in Staten Island, and Barnes & Noble in the Upper West Side. Now, I think to be a great actor, you have to be a great storyteller. And you can see that in this book, because when you read this book, it's like having dinner with Danny Aiello, and he's sitting down telling you some of these great stories.
Thank you, Ronnie. That's a great compliment. Because when I agreed to do the book, it was important for me to sound that the words would sound like me speaking. And I think we've accomplished that. It wasn't an easy thing to do. It was a very stressful thing for me to do. I'll tell you, to pick up things at the age of 6. First of all, I said, how the hell am I going to remember things at the age of 6? But it came to me. A lot of things that I wanted to forget as a child and buried, but they came to light again. Here, I'm 145 years old, remembering things that I did when I was 6 years old. it was really an experience for me to do that. Sleepless nights created. It took me 3 months to write it, and I've done it. And if it doesn't sell one book, I'm being honest with you. I wrote the book I wanted to write. And the title, of course, I'd like to explain what it means. I only know who I am when I am somebody else. Because sitting here with you, I'm not quite sure who the hell I am. Yesterday, I don't know who I am. But I do know whenever I'm acting a character, I know who that is. I know lines I'm going to speak. I know where this character comes from because I did the investigative work. So I'm quite sure of who my characters are, but not too sure about myself.
Is that some of your favorite work that you're doing to the preparation to the roles? Is that?
Yeah, I think so, but it's relatively simple because what I do, I don't like to sound like a magician or some miracle maker. When I do a role, I simply think about it a bit, think about what I did in life, what I would have done in life had I been playing such a role. And I try to make it as natural as it's humanly possible to make it for myself. If it's a known character in history, of course, I will do lookup work. I did my due diligence, find out who the guy was and come up with something. But any other character that I play that's unreal and developed for the first time, I might have picked up something from someone in the street because actors are voyeurs. They observe people. Sometimes we pick up little idiosyncrasies of people and we think, hey, sometime in the future, I'm going to utilize what that guy just showed me, and you do it that way. But it's a matter of constantly rehearsing lines, remembering the lines, and trying to make something valid out of the lines. But it's a simple method, I think. And as long as eventually you're in the most natural state that you can be in, and that's generally how I feel my characters are portrayed in a very natural sense.
But here's the thing for this book, when you sit down and do this, the guy that you're now investigating is Danny Aiello, and you're going back to memories and feelings that you've probably pushed away and tried to get away from for your whole life.
Yeah, well, that's true. First of all, I was a kid. When I was 6 years old, I remember a lot of things that came back to mind. I had eczema. I was sitting in the front of a class, and because I was small and very skinny, and smaller than the rest of the students, but I had to scratch myself like crazy because of my eczema. My mother at night when I went to sleep had to put gloves on my hands or my socks on my hands to keep me from ripping myself apart. That's how bad the eczema was. And then I was left back in school because I was hospitalized quite a bit. So I'm an older guy in a younger class, and people are looking at me weird, and I'm scratching, and I'm thinking I was disgusting them. So I went over to the teacher, and I had my mother, ask them to let me sit in the back. And of course that was permitted. On the other hand, when I left school, when I went outside, I played ball. And that put me in a different state of mind. I didn't worry about my eczema. I didn't have to scratch myself because I was involved in something other than sitting there and scratching. But in school, I loved when the teacher would call me and asked me to read something from a book. Now, I have no idea why that was so important to me, but I would get up and read, and I was also a great speller. Math, forget about it. Algebra, any of that stuff, forget it. I couldn't do it. But I loved to read, and I think that was the first sign, maybe, that maybe someday I'll become an actor, reading scripts and so forth. Of course, I never wanted to be an actor until I was. But it was a tremendous experience. But in the book, I go from the age of 6, I go to the age of 9 when I was shining shoes at Grand Central Station. In 1940s, I was shining shoes for soldiers and so forth, and shining their boots. I used to pop the rag, and I'm talking about the shoe shine rag. And then from that, when I went to 13 years old, 14, I got into some bad trouble with little gangs sort of things, and I was picked up by 2 detectives at Herman Ritter PS 98 in New York City, which was a sort of an elementary school, and they took me down to Lincoln Hospital to be identified for attempted murder. Now, I had nothing to do with this guy who was beat up. His name was Joe Arriago, but the 2 detectives scared the hell out of me. They took me out of school, brought me there, and said, "Do you know Joe Arriago?" I said, "No, I don't." They said, "Well, apparently someone knows you because they said you were there when he got hurt." I said, detectives, I had nothing to do with it. I don't know what you're talking about. So they took me down, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, I know I didn't do it, but I'm beginning to feel guilty, and maybe I did do it. Of course I didn't do it, but I was thinking I did. So I heard a song on the radio. Ron, you got to believe me when I'm telling you this. You know what the song was? "I've Got an Alibi." The song is I've Got an Alibi. I don't even remember, but that song kept playing. I wanted to say something to the cops, but I thought it wouldn't make any sense. They took me up to the guy's room. Now, they didn't put me in a room. They put me in a vestibule where there was a bench, and I saw in the room, apparently they wanted me to see it. And in there was Joe Ariago, patched up to the head, bandaged all. They did a job on him. And they walk back out to me, and they don't say a word to me. Two detectives on the big, I'm a little kid. I'm nothing. I'm a jerk. Nothing. They come out, and I'm wondering, what are they going to say? Both of them. One grabbed one arm, the other, and they picked me up and started to take me down. So I'm saying, I'm gone. I'm dead. So they put me in the car, and they take me back to school. And they say, may I curse?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of the car. Guy didn't identify me. I had nothing to do with it, but that was the thing that made me know I better get out of this city.
Right.
I better go away, and I went into the Army. Then we go into the Army bit. Then I come out of the Army. I meet a nice Jewish girl from the Bronx, Sandy Cohen. I fell in love with her, and I married her. Then I got a job at the Greyhound bus terminal as a public address announcer. May I have your attention, please? On platform number 3, a coach for Philadelphia, Chester, Wilmington, Dover, Seaford, Laurel, Salisbury, Princess Anne, Pocomoke City, Kiptopee Beach, Little Creek, and Norfolk. That's the kind of crap I did. I did that. I was there for 10 years. I became the union president, the youngest president in the country, lost my job as a result of a wildcat strike, was sued for $500,000. I decided not to fight it because the union, I became very disoriented. I felt that they killed me because they went with what management was saying as opposed to what one of their fellow representatives was saying. I left, floundering around, went to the improvisation in New York City, and Bud Friedman, the proprietor, famous improv, great comedy club, gave me a job as a bouncer. And that's where that goes. Then everything else, then my whole show business career comes into it. And I have some nasty remarks for some notable people that I didn't particularly care for.
Well, you're
going to love it when you read that, Ron. I know you'll love that
Believe
book.
I went through it all. I love the book. And, because I love having you in. As I said, there's so many phenomenal stories. Some of the small stories in here would be the biggest stories that people would carry around for the rest of their lives. And there's a part of the book where you're working the improv, and Doc Pomus, the great songwriter, would come in, and you would go out to his car, and because he could no longer walk, you would pick him up and bring him in, and there he would work with Bette Midler and get together with Bette Midler. This is long before your Danny Aiello that everybody knows.
Yes.
And how many people, Danny, would have an experience like that? But even more important, be able to recognize it.
Yeah, it was quite an experience because I had never been exposed to that before. I was a married guy at Greyhound. I didn't know anything about show business. Walking in there and seeing dynamite comedians who had already made it. But the most interesting part of it is to see guys who began there. I was there for about 2.5 years and went on to be huge. I'm talking Richie Pryor used to come in. And one of my best friends was Rodney Dangerfield. Rodney Dangerfield was he was sensational. Robert Klein, I used to sing behind him. We were the Untouchables, Buddy Hughes, Bobby Mantia, and Bobby Alto. We were called up because Bob Klein would get up before an audience and he would ad-lib, he would improv songs, but he would ask for a title of a song. From that title, he would make a song, call us up. I was there not as one. They called us the Untouchables, but I was working there. I had a job, but I got up and sang behind him. Then you know who else we sung behind? Bette Midler.
Unbelievable.
Bette Midler, when she was working the bats, she was at the time she was in Fiddler on the Roof, but Bette was sensational. I mean, the people I met there were like outrageously great. Our relationship, Bud Friedman and I, is still great. He lives in California, but it was a place that started me. I didn't know that that's what I was going to become, an actor from that, but it did help me because I was on a stage, I was before people, I was doing things, so it loosened me up a bit,
Well, years ago, David Brenner had told me that he said, he knew you from working the door, a great guy, and then you got this play, and he says he goes to the play, and he's like, that is unbelievable. He had no idea.
None of them did. They used to take me as a joke, a hitter. Yeah. That's what they do. They take you as a hitter. You're Italian, you hit people. That's why you're a goddamn bouncer. He was a great guy, and we were friendly even up until the last minute. We saw each other frequently, and we loved each other. I told you, Ron, on the last broadcast, excuse me, that Bud Friedman, who I loved, and Bud Friedman truly loved David as a person, but he didn't think he was funny. And when I was emceeing it, Bud wasn't there. Bud said, never, ever put Brenner on prime time. Now, you know, that's the last thing you got to tell me. If you're going to tell me that shit, that's not going to happen. So what I did was I put him on prime time every time Bud wasn't there. He'd get an 8 o'clock, a 9 o'clock, a 10 o'clock. He was right there. I loved him. David was a great guy. And he was with Miss Tel Aviv for a long time, one of the most beautiful women I had ever seen in my life. That was his girlfriend. Her name was Yafa. Second name I don't remember, but she was Miss Tel Aviv. The things that I was exposed to there, I mean, is outrageous. Now, in the book, stories about Lauren Bacall, stories about B. Arthur, stories about Woody Allen, stories about Martin Scorsese, who said to people, a reporter asked me one day, how come Danny Aiello's never worked with you? He said, well, you know, he wasn't right for what I was doing. When a reporter asked me, I said, what was I, too tall? I think, you know, Marty's about 4'8", I guess, something like that.
Yeah.
No, he's a great director. Excuse me.
Sure.
My feeling for him has to do with the fact that I'd never worked with him. And I always wondered why. And at the time I was trying to work with him, I was pretty hot. I mean, I was doing Knockout, name above the title. I just bought a house in Ramsey because of the acting. So I was really cooking, and that makes you think, why would this guy not allow me to be in any one of his movies? And I never was. And I resented that. To this day, I resent it. If I see him on the street, I may knock him out. But beside that, here's the end of that. It's in the book, too. I did a movie called Brooklyn Lobster, Ron.
Yeah.
Okay? Small movie. I was asked to do it, and I liked the kid very much, so he thought it would be helpful if I did it. I have somewhat of a name for him. So I said I would do it. And he happened to know Marty Scorsese because they both went to NYU at different times. But I did this movie with him. I went to the premiere, okay? And what do you think it said at the top? Marty Scorsese presents Danny Aiello in Brooklyn Lobster. So in the book, I put down, well, I finally worked in one of Marty Scorsese's pictures. Now, remember, he wasn't a producer.
Yeah.
He didn't put money in. He was never on the set. I think he would have thought it was dangerous to be on the set when I was in the same set of him as him. But that was it, you know. And but remember this, it was because of his professional ability as a director that I wanted to work with him. I wanted to be painted by his brush on the screen, just to give myself an opportunity to know that I had worked with him, because he did some marvelous movies. And I just resent the fact that I might have had an additional 4 Academy Awards if I worked with him. So I want to knock him out because of that, you know. And other stories, and Woody, you know, Woody Allen, who I love dearly, you know, and I did 4 things with him, including a Broadway play with B. Arthur. But Woody came over to me one day and he said, Danny, you are my ace in the hole for Broadway Danny Rose. Now, I interpreted that as a street kid as, hey, man, you're the guy. You're going to do it. Now, Bobby Greenhut, who was the producer, said, use Danny. Gordon Willis, who was the greatest cinematographer, said, use Danny. Not because I was a great actor, but because I did my work. I remembered my lines. I was on time. No wasted money. So it was easy for them to say that. I'm waiting, and I'm thinking, oh, God, I'm going to get this. I can't wait. It's a great role.
Perfect for you.
Yeah,
Perfect
2
for you.
weeks passed by. Brian Hamill, still photographer on all the great movies. His brother is Pete Hamill. He calls me up. He said, Danny, someone else got the role. I went into my room for about, I would say, 2 weeks. I was devastated. I wouldn't say I was crying, but devastated. And as time went on, Woody asked Brian, how's Danny? Friendly thing. Now, keep in mind that Woody and I were friendly during shoots. We played ball with each other. We'd box with each other. We did crazy things. And so I assumed because of these things I was going to have to part. But Woody asked Brian, how's Danny? Brian said, disappointed. Disappointed? Why? He works all the time. He had no idea. Works all the time. What the hell does that mean? I have an opportunity to work in a great movie by Woody Allen with a great role. He had no idea what that would mean to a guy or any actor. You can't. But he did not promise me the role, Ron. I want
Yeah.
to make that clear. All he said, you're my ace in the hole. He hired this other guy who was a contained group. He had a group. He performed all over Connecticut, and he wrote his own music. He wrote the song Ajita.
It's kind of
With-
stunt casting that he
That's
did.
absolutely right. He
Yeah.
felt that he was the guy. There's no question I could have played it, but the question is that he already had built-in material that he could use in a movie.
Because I don't think that guy ever worked before or since.
He never worked since.
Yeah, in films.
He got a TV series.
Oh, did he?
And it lasted for about a half hour. I don't think the pilot was ever finished before they said they cannot work with him. Not that he wasn't good.
Right.
They told me suddenly he became Frank Sinatra or Burt Lancaster. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't this guy.
Yeah. Which
that
is
they thought
basically
they were
right
gonna-
from the movie. The
Yes.
guy who gets a break and it lets it get to his head.
That's right. Yes.
You get the chance to go out and meet Danny at these book signings tonight. Bookends, Ridgewood, New Jersey. Wednesday, October 22nd, Barnes & Noble in Staten Island. Friday, October 24th, Barnes & Noble in the Upper West Side. As again, these are great stories, and there's so many life lessons in here. And one of my favorite is the fact that you bring up you and Sean Penn politically couldn't be further apart, and yet you have this close friendship
yes, we do.
based on just the connection you guys feel
Yeah,
together.
and we did Hurly Burly together in California. I was fortunate enough to win Best Actor in L.A. Drama Critics, but he should have gotten one too. But I think they penalize this kid every time they get an opportunity to do so. Politically, we are so far apart, but I think it's because his father was blacklisted in the 50s. Leo Penn, his dad, a sweet man, actor and a director. And I think he's picked up that because of the way that his father was treated way back then, called a communist and so many other things. So he's always for the little guy. Every opportunity
Right.
he has, he's for the little guy. I disagree with so many of the things because, as you know, I'm a conservative and he, of course, is. Well, I'm not quite sure what he is, but it could be a liberal. He certainly is pointed in that direction, but he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and I trusted him immensely. One incident occurred. We're back in New York City. It's in a book. I walk over to him. We're sitting having something to eat in a restaurant on the West Side, and you see, Hurly Burly was made into a movie. I didn't do the movie. They didn't choose me. They got Chaz Palminteri. And I don't know why that happened, but I had the feeling when talking to Sean that Sean was somewhat upset about it. He was sitting there and wondering, should he bring it up? Should she? That's what I read. I don't know that to be a fact until I said it. So I knew he wanted to apologize to me, and he did. He said, Danny, I'm sorry you didn't get the part. I had nothing to do with it. I couldn't do it. I said, don't worry. I saw the film. And it was bad, but I wouldn't say I was happy because of that. Because Sean was in, I would have preferred for it to have been, terrific. And Sean really acknowledged me as an actor, and that made a good feeling for me because not everyone is about to tell you if he's an actor that you're good or whatever you do. He's made me feel good. He's a good guy, and he went through hell with Madonna.
Oh.
He used to walk through this, if we were on our way to the theater, you'd have the paparazzi, and then you'd have not the paparazzi, but other guys trying to lure him into a fight. They would say things like, I had your wife last night, talking about Madonna.
Yeah.
So we're walking to the theater, big line. My son Danny, may he rest in peace, a great stunt coordinator and stuntman, is like in front of us as we're walking. He wasn't stunting, he was just with us, going toward the theater. As he's going, he heard this guy say that to Sean. Danny hit the guy with a right hand and dropped him where he was. No one knew who hit him. It was just a straight and kept walking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where there's no interruption. You walk, bing, down he goes, and you keep walking. Like, who did that? It's one of those. And that was it. But Sean's a tough kid. I'm sitting in Cafe Columbus. Do you remember Columbus?
Sure.
All the actors. That's where we all hung out. And Baryshnikov hung out. He owned a piece of the place. So many people. And one day I'm talking with Mickey. I'm not dropping names. He drops my name, but I'm Mickey Rourke. Mickey and I are talking, and in walks Sean. Out of nowhere, he said, you ever fucking...
You're allowed to say
Can I
that.
do that?
Yeah, you're fine.
You ever fucking do that again, I'll rip your fucking head. You ever say anything about my brother Chris again, I'll kill you. Apparently, something must have happened because Mickey's a stand-up guy. I mean, in terms of fight, he can fight. He might have been able to kick his ass. I don't know. But the way he attacked him, and Mickey took it like a man. So apparently he must have done something where he was guilty, where he would say, I can't do anything here because I was wrong.
Right.
That's the feeling I got with Mickey. But that's a tough kind of kid he is. I'm
Yeah, I
talking.
mean,
I'm talking. That kid is Sean. He's a bitch. He's tough.
Well, yeah, I mean, Mickey Rourke is a boxer
Yeah.
and had that thing, and just to walk in and be ready to throw down, that was amazing. You loved Chris Penn, too. You loved
Well,
him.
Chris played my son in a Pickle, Paul Mazersky's movie. He was a sweet kid.
Yeah.
I loved him dearly. I know his other brother, Michael. I'm talking about Sean's brother.
Yeah, great
I
singer.
didn't know Michael, but he's more of a musician. I loved his father and his mother, Elaine. They were like my family. The mothers, here's an interesting thing, okay? Bobby De Niro, we all take him as an Italian, right?
Yeah.
He's an Italian. He's about this much Italian.
Is that
I
right?
got my fingers split about an eighth of an inch, right? Sean Penn is more of an Italian than Bobby in terms of who, because Bobby's father was not total Italian. He was half of something else. And the mother was not at all Italian. So that's just a little infinitesimal point, a piece of Italian. But Sean's mother, Elaine, father Irish, Scotch-Irish, whatever,
Yeah.
and Elaine was Italian. The
And
mother.
it never
so
comes
he's
up.
half Italian. No, it
Yeah.
comes out that kid is Italian.
As I said, you can sit here and listen to these stories with Danny, and they're always great.
I can tell you some dirty ones.
Oh, yeah, he's got
if I
them
was
all.
a dirty kind of guy, but I'm not.
But
Fez is in there. Fez is in there telling me, curse more, curse. I can't
That's
do
what he
that,
wants to
Fez.
do.
I'm
I want to
sorry,
hear the
Ron.
dirty ones.
Danny Aiello, the book, I only know who I am when I'm someone else. There's so many great stories before acting, while he's acting, show business stories, but what comes through is the same thing that people say about Danny when they meet him on the street, is that he's a warm guy and he's, always outgoing to people. And of course, if anyone gives him the slightest bit of shit, he's ready to throw down. But as long as everybody's being respectful, it's going to be a nice day. But you have no problem if there is a problem. You bring it up with you and Bruce Willis, were very, very good friends.
I really like Bruce a lot.
Yeah.
He was a bouncer. He was not a bouncer. He was a bartender at the Cafe Central. I was acting at the time, and he went over to me a couple of times. Oh, God, some days he was studying acting.
Yeah.
He said, I hope someday we'll work together. So I took that as what actors say to me. Yeah, we'll work together. Oh, yeah, they never do. Very rarely does that happen. Bruce became a huge star. He's doing a movie called Hudson Hawk. Now, at that time, I was signed to do 29th Street, Anthony LaPaglia. It's my favorite movie. It's on my license plate, 29th Street. And Anthony LaPaglia is playing my son. I've signed to do 29th Street. I was making a lot of money to do 29th Street. We get a call from Joel, and the producer of it, and says, I want Danny. He calls my agent, said, I like Danny in my movie. So he said, well, we can't. You're shooting the same time 29th Street is. He said, did you hear what the fuck I said? I said, Danny, I want in a movie with Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is a star. Do you understand what the fuck I said? And my boy Jimmy Coda, my agent, said, wait a minute. What? I just told you, Joel, that Danny is doing 29th Street. He's already signed. Do you understand? It's going the same time as you're fucking fired. You're fired. You understand? He hangs up, calls up Joe Roth, 20th Century Fox studio boss, and says, Joel, I want Danny Aiello. He said, well, what are you talking about? He signed it. He's doing a movie, 29th Street. We're in pre-production. He said, I want him on he said, listen, I'm in a lot of money in pre-production. I can't let him go. How much are you in for? $450,000. I'll give you the money. Give me Danny, delay your picture for a while. So Joe delayed the picture. Joel, I went to do Hudson Hawk with my boy Bruce, and what happened was I got paid from $750 and $750 from two pictures. All I was going to make was $750 in one, but because Joel opened up his mouth. Now we're getting along well, Bruce and I. We're shooting Hudson Hawk now. Hudson Hawk. You'll have to forgive me, I thought it was a piece of shit. I didn't know it at the time. I thought it was just, some kind of a comedy. I didn't understand the comedy, how the writing was. It was kind of weird to me. Sandra Bernhardt was in it, wonderful. But it was like a weird kind of picture. And Brian Gumbel he's interviewing me in Italy, and he said, Danny, what is this comedy about? I said, you tell me. I have no fucking idea what it's about. I have no idea. Anyway, there's a scene in Hudson Hawk. Incidentally, it's a cult favorite on the internet, all over television. They love the movie. There's a scene where I'm in a limo, sort of under arrest. And it's going off a cliff. It goes off a cliff and goes into a ravine about 300 feet down. I'm a dead man. I'm completely dead. Finished. He says to me, Danny, you know what I want you to do when you come out of because I come out alive.
It
He said,
explodes.
he said, I want you to come out with your hair like electrified and smoke coming out of it. So politely I said, Bruce, because I love Bruce. I said, Bruce, that's not funny. That's Comedy Time in the Rockies. That fucking Christopher Lloyd did that in Back to the Future. I'm not going to do something another fucking actor did. So he says, I said, listen, you want to know what's funny, Bruce? My hair coiffed after that big fall, coiffed, you understand? With smoke coming out of it. I said, that's funny. I'm paying you $1 million fucking dollars. It wasn't $1 million, it wasn't. So I said, I'll tell you what you do. Stick the fucking money up your ass. I'm not doing it, and I'm walking away. Joel Silver, who's the producer, one of the great, Danny, what are you doing? He's a fucking star. You're going to do another movie with him. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, Bruce and I talk after that. And he tells me where his head was at, and I tell him where mine is at. I said, Bruce, you got the director on the set. He's directing. You're directing his shit. You can't do that. You're giving actors line readings. Do you know what happened? The guy gave me a line. I break his fucking head if he gave me a line reading telling me how to say a line. That's what you did to me. You did it to me and I responded to you because you're my friend. You took advantage of me. He walks away in the middle of this heated discussion, and I throw a right hand to a fucking camper. Bam! And I broke my hand. The fortunate thing is I didn't know my hand was broke. It was a simple fracture on the outside. It didn't even need a cast. But when I went home, that's when we found out it was broke. Here's the sadness. I loved the guy. I loved his mother. I loved his brother, his brothers. David was his producer. Bobby died prematurely, the poor kid. And it kills me. If I never work with him again, that would have been all right. But I like Bruce. Bruce is a good guy. And this thing, when you come into a setup like contracts are the same way. When you're disagreeing on the contract, arguments ensue. When you're doing a movie in between two actors, these things occur. And I said to him, why do you interfere so much with the director? I told the director, I said, why don't you quit? He says, quit? Not for the money I'm making. Let him direct it. I don't give a shit. But anyway, that was it. And I just want to leave by, I said that in the book as well, that I really cared for Bruce. And he made himself a huge star,
These are the kind of stories you get. Danny Aiello, I only know who I am when I'm someone else. Make sure you go out and say hi to Danny. You can see him at these book signings. Tonight, Bookends in Ridgewood, New Jersey. Then Wednesday, October 27th at Barnes & Noble in Staten Island. And then Friday, October 24th, the Barnes & Noble in the Upper West Side too, right?
Could I just say this to you? I just say that Barnes & Noble, I don't know if it mentioned to you, they read the galleys, and all over the country, I made the holiday table. I didn't know what that meant.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Meaning October 28th to December 31st, we're in the front. I'm excited by it.
When you're looking for Christmas presents, for whatever, this is perfect. If there's a movie fan in your family, this is the book for him, because the backstage stuff and everything is just great.
Yeah, and this, you just mentioned the music. Yeah, this just came out. It's called Blues Times 2. Now, a lot of people don't know that I do blues, but my boy, my buddy Lou Baldineri, who does so many things for me, said, you can do blues, you can do blues. So this is it. This is what's there.
See you next time, Danny.
Okay, I love you. Thank you very much, Ron.
Danny Aiello doing a drop-in. A guy, I mean, you heard the moment I met him, but you see how quickly he makes you feel like you know him your whole life. And in a way, that kind of actor, we all kind of feel that way. We all feel like we know Danny Aiello. The Moonstruck stuff is just great. What a great role he played in that. Coming up in about 30 minutes, Unmasked with a great friend of ours, and we're all so happy for him, Dan Soder. This is Bennington.
Hey, did you guys get your Bennington shirts at the ibankshop.com?
Yes, I did. I got 2 of them.
Good. I'm so glad. Chris, did you get yours?
I got mine. It was a triple XL, but I got it before it sold out.
Lucky.
You wear a triple XL?
Yeah, Rod, I had to admit that today that I wear a triple XL.
What do you mean, earlier? This is the second time you've had to say it?
I'm larger, Ron.
I'm not saying anything about it.
No. We're just interested.
Can I tell you something? I think a triple XL is a 2019 medium. I really do.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Take a look around this country.
Take a
You're-
look around.
Your standard issue dude.
That's right.
Thank
if you
you.
lived in Indiana, you'd probably be doing fucking modeling.
Yeah. Everyone would be like, you know that skinny guy, Chris?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's me. Feel good about myself.
Good for you. So anyway, where do we go to get the shirts?
ibangshop.com. ibangshop.
Shop.
Shop.com.
Don't chop it. Shop it.
ibangshop.
You know what I found out? I find it to be a perfect Christmas gift.
I think so too.
Oh, yeah.
It's ready. It's perfect for St. Crispin's Day.
I'm gonna wear one. In January, I'm going to Detroit, the Emerald Theater in Detroit. That's Saturday, the 18th of January. Maybe I'll wear a Bennington shirt there. You know,
You should.
fucking
awesome.
fly the. You guys know I do the theme song when I come out.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
But the thing is, too, it's like maybe you would feel like it's too much to wear it here, but it's like in Detroit, you can wear a shirt of your own show.
I agree.
You know?
You know, I just want to say to Detroit, I know you're always competitive with Chicago. Chicago gave me a standing ovation before and after the set.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to Detroit do one before, after, and in the middle.
Perfect.
It's just some
Yeah.
funny joke in the middle.
That would be fantastic. Then they would obviously be first in your heart, right?
Detroit?
Yeah. If you got the middle ovation.
Middle ovation, everybody. I wonder if I got a middle ovation, I'd just walk out. Like, thank you.
I guess I'm done.
Yeah.
That's the audience giving you the light.
That's the audience to say, we peaked. You know when your guys set this thing up, they never set it up correctly. Every single day, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Every single day and every single way. I mean, you know, you feel bad about yourself.
Yes.
You're the fucking MVP of the producing team, by far.
Well, thank you. And I feel like I have a lot of room to improve.
I would love for 2019 and see how you guys feel that we do it back to the days of the three and we get rid of Earl and we get rid of Vito.
Oh,
Wow.
I love it.
Well, a lot less fighting for me because I know both of them seem to have problems with me and I have problems with them.
You ever notice you never fight with me and Ron?
That's right. No.
Never.
The three of us actually
Best
really get
friends.
along.
Yeah.
Best friends.
Best friends forever.
And like, you ever notice, like, if something goes wrong and things are tense, we're just tense together.
I know.
We're
Yeah.
not sitting there going, Ron, this is your goddamn
Yeah,
fault. You're
fuck
the one.
Yeah, we're in a jam.
Yeah.
But they are like, well, I told you the thing the other day that there was weird car problems when I was coming back from Don Anthony's show, and fucking Earl just immediately blamed Chris.
Yeah.
Said Chris gave him the wrong car number.
No.
Sure, I did. Okay.
But they turn on each other. They're both like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes nothing to get Vito to turn on Earl and vice versa. Earl will sell anyone down the river.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He's a terrible liar too, so that just fucking complicates things.
But the three of us, when things are bad, we're like, it's bad right now. Don't you
Yeah.
think it's bad? We don't start pointing at one
no,
another.
no. Earl and Vito, they just love pointing at the stand man. They fucking just love.
You're not calling yourself the stand man?
Trying to
Because
get
no
that
one else
started.
does.
No, you don't realize he does that a lot. He'll just try to dip it in
Yeah, I know.
and see if anyone bites. Well, nope, we're not.
What if we do a parody song? Hey, y'all, prepare yourself for the blubber stand man. Man,
3XL.
the fact that you can't laugh without your lungs fucking deflating.
I think it's a popcorn lung, Ron.
I'm worried about it because you remember it was a while ago, and you were nonstop coughing, and you were like, you got to give cigarettes up. It's
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah,
Now you're back to coughing as bad as you were
I know.
because your vape, the quantity of vape
I'm
going
burn-
into the lungs.
I'm burning a lot of vape juice.
I'm burning my lungs.
for you.
But I don't smoke that weird off-brand fucking vape shit, which is really what's killing people.
Minty.
You're a classist. You
Yeah.
know, people who can't afford
He
your
hates
jewel
poor
pods.
people. He hates poor people.
I don't want to fucking smoke bathtub jewel juice.
You know who you are right now?
Who's that?
Ebenezer Scrooge. I think you're above everybody, and you just give Vito a little coal.
Speaking of which, you know when we were in the office the other day, his desk was just covered in those pods.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
empty
mean,
pods.
you're just you're just nonstop vaping when you're at that desk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, how many pods are you going through?
I'm going through 2-3 pods a day.
What? Isn't that a lot?
Yeah, a pod is supposed to be a pack of cigarettes.
Chris, that
Yes,
is
gal.
too much vaping. I'm being serious. That sounds really bad for you, dude.
I don't know. I think the wheezing is just a weird side effect.
He's smoking the equivalent of 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
I remember when you used to smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
I don't know. I thought you were like pack and a half.
No, he was 3 packs.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I never saw him smoke it down too far. He would put out one.
yeah.
He would actually light his next cigarette while he was smoking,
Right.
and then stamp out.
Mm-hmm.
But some people smoke right down to the butt. You were like
I was-
half a cigarette smoker.
I wasn't fucking going all the way down the filter. That's disgusting tobacco, Ron. I don't want that. I want the good shit. I want the shit up front.
Most people that hate tobacco don't smoke.
But that's like that fucking really resonated tobacco at the end. They don't want that.
Now that you are a vapor, is tobacco as a flavor gross to you?
No, not at all.
No, you still love
No,
it.
it's still fucking great. Like, I feel like an asshole vaping because the cigarette's fucking just so much better.
You know, I feel the same way. I don't smoke pot, but I love the smell of marijuana
Yeah,
cooking up.
me too.
And it's a great smell.
It's comforting to me.
It is to me too. I should get on some kind of a fucking weird edible schedule like people are doing now, you know? Say it's
Right.
my knees or something, my high
Yeah.
ankle injury.
What about that microdosing
With fucking weed or with mushrooms?
weed?
Yeah.
You can microdose weed. You have no effects, and you're getting all the benefits.
Let me tell you
For
something.
bennies.
I'm a fucking macro doser, okay? That's the way I fucking play
Yeah.
the game. I'm all out. From the window to the walls. You know, what the fuck are you doing in
What
here?
you are doing in here?
What gives you the right to come in while the show's on? Do you know that just moments ago we were talking about going 2019 without you and Earl?
Yeah.
We
You
were
know
th-
why?
Why?
Because you both say stuff about Chris that are lies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you both lie about me. It used to
You
just
both-
be Earl, but
Yeah.
now Vito makes up
It's-
lies about
you
me.
guys are against Chris.
Yeah.
And he feels safer with me and Ron.
Yeah.
I don't.
Safer space.
I don't even have bad gas.
I'm like-
Vito just fucking makes that up.
I'm
No.
sorry, Chris. I'm sorry for what you're going through.
Thank you. He's just a fucking liar.
He smells bad, and I had to have a talk with him today about keeping the lights off in the office during the day. I said we don't want to be the weird people in the dark when it's dark out during the day.
What?
So
You're not
he
even making sense.
keeps
More
the-
lies.
because he keeps the lights off all day in the office. so
Light strains him. It strains his eyes.
we look like creeps.
Oh, now that's something to be embarrassed about. I'm doing the fucking Creeps
No,
tour. You know what?
This is bullshit.
I guess they shouldn't head over January 18th to the Emerald Theater, Detroit, because
No.
a creep is a bad thing.
No, they should. It's good to be a creep. Creepstore.com.
I guess I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. Vito hates my guts.
He hates
In
your
case
guts.
he hates Paul's
Yeah.
guts.
Lies about me.
You know that he has the skin and the eyes of a mole person. And
Yeah, I
he
can't-
likes to keep it nice and dark.
I like it dark and cool, like a lizard.
You know what I like about that? When you keep your office dark, you're very approachable to other people coming by.
Sure.
I'm sure people
Oh, let's
would
see
be like,
what
I was
you do.
gonna ask Chris for something. I'm sure they would love to go into
Well,
his
go
cave.
into his cave where he may or may not be sleeping. It's like a bear cave, you know? Big bear loves his honey.
Loves the sunny.
You know what I hate? The disrespectful thing that you have for me in the show. And then I had doing an unmasked with Dan Soder, and he brings up the respect that not only he has for me, but according to him, the comedy community. And I
Yeah.
think, but I can't get that from Vito?
Nope.
I can't get that from Chris or Earl?
You get that from me.
But your aggression with it. I mean, his was sweet and nice. This unmasked was truly one of my favorite ever.
It
you know?
it is a really, really great
That's
unmasked.
fantastic.
I think because he disarmed me by being so nice. I wish more people would disarm me by being
I know.
nice. I'm like Trump that way. If you like me, I like you back.
One was unmasked, the other unarmed.
Look at how many specials are coming out. I can't even keep up. Soder's
I
got
know.
one out. Michelle Wolf's got one out.
yeah, cursing.
Curson.
Kirsten's got Jessica Kirsten. Let's just call her by her entire name instead of
Understood.
acting like we're in the Marine Corps. Where we just yell out Kirsten.
Sergeant Curson.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy these days,
I
right?
know. And all like so good too.
Earl's got one out called "What You Talk About." I feel like Earl despises Chris, but he ignores Vito. Like it
What's
never
worse?
occurs to him that I think it's worse to be ignored because then it
Yeah.
seems like you don't matter.
I think that would hurt me more too.
Do you know that he sends a text chain that you're not part of?
Earl does?
Yeah, he sends it to me, Gail, and Chris, and I'm like, well, let's say, but he cuts you out of the text chain. We have the text chain for the show.
Yeah.
Then he has a separate one.
Yeah.
And it's not even like he's talking about you. He just doesn't even know that you're part of this or you matter.
I thought something was up because sometimes I just don't see Earl texting for days, but I don't see why he would leave me out of anything. That's just a communication issue.
I think that he looks at you like maybe like an intern, like the fact that you
that's
wouldn't put
probably it.
Andy on the text chain. But it happens all the time.
I'm not an intern. I've been working here for almost 5 years now.
You think that would matter,
Doesn't
He's treating you like a bitch.
Why do you have to?
Yeah.
Your thing does it. Why is it misogynistic? Like that's a way women should be
I
treated.
never thought of it like that.
Why?
You never thought. All you had to do was like, hey, it's all about Earl being in trouble.
Would you
right
say
now. This is
that
great.
he treats him like the other F word? You wouldn't have said that, would you have?
You know who loves his producers and they love him is Dan Soder. You'll hear him mention.
That's
I mean,
sweet.
his fucking do nothing producers, but they're not aggressive. They're not like what Chris
They're
just
not.
said, the misogynistic thing.
Well, when I watched the special, I saw the special thanks at the end, and it says the Bonfire Crew on there.
Yeah.
He thanked them.
He loves
He
them and they
loves
love
them.
him.
Hmm
They all go out to eat together. They travel together. They,
that is so sweet. I
They're-
feel like we don't break bread enough.
no,
Maybe that's
no,
the
but
issue.
Vito doesn't eat bread anymore.
True.
Keto.
Well, remember that last text
Cheetos.
when we tried to set up the? Oh, you weren't part of that chain.
What? I'm left off another
Well,
text?
That's the thing where
'cause
we're
Earl
invited
started
to the Hard Rock.
Yeah, Earl started the conversation, so we didn't move it to the other chain.
No.
Like Johnny has picked up the what do you call it idea? The brunch potato skins idea.
Yeah, the Benningtons.
And-
So good.
The thing is like, does this mean it's going to the Hard Rock? Does that mean I'm cut out?
I think
Yeah.
that could be where it's going.
Here's
I
the weird
fear.
thing.
Yeah.
Soda would find out. Soda would have got it together. You know what I mean? He wouldn't be like, I think.
Right.
We're all defenseless here. Soda would have fucking slapped an injunction on his
Yeah.
ass.
He's a go-getter like that.
He is a go-getter. That's why we're all proud of him. Son of a Gary. His dad sounds like a great guy.
He does. He sounds great.
I don't blame him for not caring about Soda when he was little. Now, the part where I tried to explain to Soda, did that make an instant success to you about the way his dad was acting?
Yeah.
And yet, when it's you yourself, when it's your family, you don't see it that way. You know what I mean? You're still thinking like a child, and we all do that,
Right.
you know?
It's hard not to. You always are like kind of still in the like you put things in the terms of your childhood
Right.
when it comes to your family. You still see yourself that way.
And I think even like stupid old coaches and stuff, you still like, oh, hi, Mr. Clemenza. You know what I mean? Like, why are you calling that guy fucking Mister?
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to use a fucking title for anyone. If
Yeah.
I see like Prince Charles, I'm like, what's up, Chucky?
That's
You
cool.
know? And if he goes, it's Prince Charles, I go, not to me, it isn't. I go, there's only one fucking prince, and he died in Minnesota.
And him, you give all the respect to.
I remember when I was working in the hotel business, a guy would come in and say, oh, yes, reservation for doctor or whatever. And I go, not here, you're not a doctor.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're a doctor at the hospital, I'll call you doctor there.
Sure.
But now you're out on the fucking streets, you're Bill. And that's it. It doesn't mean shit to me. I always hate, and you all have worked in restaurants, why do doctors think that they should get a table?
I don't know.
Have you ever went, hey man, we got to go to this fucking restaurant. So many doctors are hanging out there. It's
Yeah.
fucking great. Fuck you, man.
They just think they're hot
people
shit.
people are like, doctors went to school for a long time. That means they're smart. That means everything that they
Can I
choose.
okay.
You know what I mean? That's the reasoning.
Dan Soder did open mics for a long time. What do you think is fucking harder?
Good point. How come someone can't just be then a doctor of comedy? I think you should start that. If you've been doing comedy for 8 years,
Look, I think somebody should be a doctor of horses, not if they're a vet, if they're a jockey. Anybody could fucking fix a horse, but to stay on one when you're fucking 86 pounds, forget about
so
it.
tiny.
Tiny but strong.
I
I've
know.
never met one of those guys that wasn't totally solid.
Yeah.
And they speak 2 different languages.
They do well with the ladies too.
Small ladies? You know why? They're all fucking big dicked. Every fucking jockey's big dicked. All right, we're going to do this Dan Soder Unmasked. And I mean, obviously, we all love Dan, but I'm also like, I'm just amazed how much these guys, you're doing radio all week and then you're traveling every weekend and, your off day is a flying day. It's so fucking exhausting. And they're out there alone and they get to this fucking point where they nail that dream they had for a long time. And it's just so impressive to me. And I'm not kidding. This special, if you haven't seen it yet, he gets a laugh every 20 seconds for an hour.
Yeah.
Every
It's a
20
great
seconds
special.
for an hour. Son of a Gary, it's out on the HBO. That's a television network that's available to you cable users. And that's old school too. I even bring this up. I'm like, that's the traditional channel.
Yeah,
You know,
I
that-
love that they have the old school intro
I know.
going into it. So great.
Yeah, me too. And we go through all that stuff, and the fact of the matter is that so much of the time, because we know people, it's like you forget to see them the way the world sees them.
Right.
But I've been out there when the Billions crowd will come up to Dan. It's always funny to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it happens all the time. And I thought, I'm like, Billions, nobody watches that show because you guys don't. I just go by you guys. If I think something popular or not, I have to just find out. That's why I thought that Chris wasn't popular, because Vito was so mean to him.
Right.
Yeah, he's just fucking talk shit.
And
makes
I'm
up
like,
lies.
Vito's not even on the text chain. He doesn't deserve my respect.
No.
Yeah.
Why aren't you on that? Did you ask to take yourself off?
I had no idea that this text chain even existed. I thought I was on every single message that got sent between all of you.
Oh no.
You're on the ones that, come from us, but you're not on the ones that come from Earl. And sometimes while all the 5 of us are talking, he'll start his 4 text change and he'll start getting answers over there.
Because that starts to feel pretty like deliberate at that point when he's texting when the other one's going on. Yeah.
I would think that it was bad, but I like exclusive. You know what I mean? Like there's
Makes
something.
you feel cool.
Kind of feels
I
good.
feel like the fact that I'm in makes me feel better.
Right.
And
Yeah.
But
then
at any point, do you get paranoid and be like, oh, okay, so then he moved it to a 4-person chat. Is there a 3-person?
holy shit, it never once dawned
Oh
on me.
God.
Okay, you can already tell that Chris is in it because he's a bad actor.
No, I am not
So
in
I'm the
some
one who's not in
bullshit
it?
secret fucking text chain. whatever
I
the fuck it is.
no, I'm not part of a 3 either. Maybe I don't know. Maybe him and Chris have a 2 text chain.
No,
going. Or
he
that's
hates
just on
me.
a text. It's all on a chain. All right, we got to jump into this unmasked. Are we going into break or straight into the unmasked?
Straight and unmasked.
Exciting!
That is exciting.
Son of a Gary on HBO, and this is Unmasked with Dan Soder.
Perfect.
That's Dan, of course, his jam.
Yeah. That's my family's fight song. If you want to get the Soder clan riled up, put on some Jimmy Buffett, watch us run through a paper banner.
So I watched the special, and like you have that song at the end, and I'm like, what did that cost?
So it's not going to be the song that plays at the end. It's the song that a couple people saw in the screener, because we tried to get the rights from Jimmy Buffett to play Margaritaville. And I had a one-off of a person that knew Jimmy very well and could get him this letter I wrote that was like, listen, I have a joke in my special. It's about my dad dying of drinking and being a fan of yours. It would be awesome if we could use this song. And then I tried giving a little bit of a hand job and be like, you're such a great songwriter. I know you know as a songwriter when you get something to work. And then we sent it to the guy, and we sent a clip along. And the first text we got back was like, hey, I know this guy from Billions. It's a great letter he wrote. I can't promise Jimmy will get back to me, but I'll give it to him. The second text, he's like, oh, no. No. I just watched the clip. Jimmy will not be okay with this. And he was like, kind of explained that Jimmy Buffett doesn't like to be associated with heavy drinking. Come on! That is fucking beautiful. That's Shakespearean.
50 years, he's made money off people drinking into a blackout.
I could honestly call Jimmy Buffett Big Cirrhosis. And you'd be like, oh yeah, he's the business that's pushing liver disease.
By the way, that might have sounded like a setup that I knew that story, but I really thought you had the song.
I thought we did too. And then when we got those texts back, I was like, this is even better. Because as a comedian, you're like, oh, I want things to work out, but if they don't, it's fucking hilarious.
Right. So you should just end the special with a woman screaming, fuck Jimmy Buffett.
I wish I could get one of my mom's old voicemails from my dad's answering machines that are like, where's the money, Gary? You owe 5 years in child support. Where is it? And it's like, thank you. Thank you, good night. But no, I think we got Queens of the Stone Age in the fade. Nice. Yeah, and so...
Yeah.
Anyone that knows, it's my favorite band of all time and my favorite song of all time, so that's pretty cool.
Well, that's lucky for you. You're the only one. So boom.
Yeah.
Very easy. When the other Margaritaville.
If Josh or any of the boys are listening, I will fight Ron once we're off the air for your love. I was hoping we were going to get Margaritaville because Cypher Sounds was DJing when I taped the special at Bowery Ballroom, and he did it after the first show. And then he did it after the second show. Just unprompted started playing Margaritaville. And my mom was the first one that was like, that has to be the song.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, yeah, that's a great idea.
Just like her whole life, she's disappointed once again.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. I tried to explain this for people that saw the movie The Joker, but there's this scene where he's bathing his mom and he goes, I want to be a comedian. And she goes, but you're not funny. And everyone that watches the movie is like, oh, that stopped him. I'm like, he would have been the funniest guy in the circuit. Like, that kind of stuff makes someone funny. Because then you're like, oh, okay, now I'm going to go write great jokes. And I think that's like a part of comedy people don't realize. It's like you get told no a lot. And that's when you're like, oh, fuck, now I want to prove everyone wrong.
It is not anything that anyone wants to hear from their child, though. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I want to be a comedian.
Yeah.
Like, it's great if your friend says that to you.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just start
And even-
laughing. You're like, you're fucked.
Even then, though, you're kind of like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom and I had a relationship that I think by the time I was 16, she was kind of like, just fucking stay out of jail.
Yeah.
And then when I got into college, she was like, just get me a degree. You could do whatever the fuck you want. And so that was like kind of I know a lot of comedians that have parents that are really against them doing comedy. And I can't imagine what that would feel like. That would be, I think, really hard for me if my mom was like, I don't want you to do comedy. Because she was like, fuck yeah. But please do this for me. And then, she always stressed the college education. She was like, please just get a college education so I feel like I did my job. That's how she always said it.
Well, that was very selfish of her.
Yeah. Also, it was so selfish.
Please get $60,000 in debt. Can you do that for mommy?
Ron, one of the things I love about you is fucking how you just nail it every time, because that's just what I paid off with this special. I mean, almost to the number. By the way, if you want a bachelor's degree from Arizona, be prepared to fight for 15 years to get an HBO special. Then you can pay off that degree. That's what a journalism degree from Arizona costs.
By the way, I love that it's an HBO special. To me, that's the traditional place. You know what I mean? Like
Man, it was surreal because it happened so fast. I have an amazing agent at UTA named Mackenzie Russos, and she's been my agent for my whole time. She's been my only agent, and she's fucking unbelievable. Like, she just has an eye for what each person should do, and she's an agent that really encourages, like, what do you want to do? And we had this talk, and I was like, I want to do an HBO special. It's the one thing that I think is just a regular looking straight white dude. I'll get buried on Netflix. I will. I don't have an angle. It's just like, what is he? He's like, he's funny. And everyone's like, all right. You need, and I feel like HBO was the place where they were only giving out a finite amount, and it means so much. It's why I'm so into comedy. It's why I'm a fan of comedy. Dave Chappelle's Killing Him Softly is the reason I do stand-up comedy. It's the perfect hour. And it was like a thing. It was a thing that I watched when I was 16 and going through some really heavy shit that I was like, oh, this is great. This is better than drugs and alcohol. This is a way where I can fucking funnel all my weird thoughts into something. So it just kind of came into my life at a really important point, I think.
Well, I think if you look where you are right now, you got the HBO special, you got a hit television show that you're part of, the Bonfire is doing great, your stand-up's going great. If you died now,
yeah,
legend. You know,
Ron,
we would be like,
if you don't think I haven't thought about tying up and pushing off in an Albany bathroom,
right,
so that they can use age technology to have Matthew Perry play me in a movie.
By the way, I don't know if there's enough technology for that, bro.
Yeah, God stopped that.
Yeah.
God was like, we're not going to make it look. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, man, where I think I love doing comedy so much. And sometimes I have to, it's surreal. It's surreal to be doing this. It's surreal to be doing Unmasked. Because I remember 2012 working University of Maryland at Baltimore. And we're in this weird conference room. And it's Chang Wang, Jermaine Fowler, and I. And we're just drinking a bottle of Jameson, watching Bill Burr's Unmasked, and then Patrice's Unmasked, and we found a way to like put it on the thing, and it was a college gig, so we knew we were all gonna fucking bomb. So we just sat there drinking whiskey, being like, well, I was, at the old comics watching Patrice talk about comedy. It was just like one of those fun things that you're like, all right, now it's time to go take a beating.
Right. But that's the kind of shit that if you just hear some of those stories, you get a couple of years. That's why, like, if somebody like just says to you in comedy at any certain point when you're young, hey, it's pretty good. Yep. That's all you need. Is like people think that you think, oh, I want to be a star, but you just want to know that you can keep going.
Man, I remember specifically a comedy club that was called the Comedy Village. It used to be the old Boston Comedy Club, and they got turned into the Comedy Village, and that was the club where I barked at. I barked out front for people to come in, and Joe List always hosted the Monday nights. He would host, and I would bark, and we'd both get blackout drunk. It was very, very fun. But I never went on Monday nights before 12:30, and the show started at 9 p.m. So I would never get on before 12:30, and that, after a while, you're just doing open mics, you're just doing really shitty gigs, and I remember I was always just bombing on this fucking Monday night show. And one night I'm just like kind of having fun. There's like maybe 5 people in the audience. I'm making everyone laugh. And I just had a fun time on stage. And I was really down and thinking of like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm living on a couch in Hoboken. I have no money. I'm not getting good shows. At least in Arizona, I was working casinos and shit where I was getting money. And I'm walking out and Neil Brennan was sitting by the door. And Neil's the co-creator of Chappelle's Show. That's like, to me, the greatest sketch comedy show of all time, because I think Chappelle's the greatest comedian of all time. So it's like, Neil was sitting by the door in a very Neil stance, like a fucking old art director. And I'm walking out, and he goes, hey, man, really funny. Like, really funny. You're really funny, man. And I just remember that being like, holy shit. Like, I remember taking the PATH train back home that night being like, fucking co-creator of Chappelle's Show told me I was funny. And that was just like a little thing. And Big J was always great. He's such a good person. But the thing about Jay is, I used to be outside smoking, and he would come by to do that show on Monday. And he and I would just end up bullshitting. And I remember being like, this guy's the fucking one of the best. And he's just talking to me. And that was like a reassuring thing. And then to have a fucking radio show with him for 5 years is beyond that I'd ever be like, oh, fuck, that's crazy. That was like 10 years ago.
Well, that's the thing about like what's happening right now, because I watched your special, Son of Gary, and it's pretty much a laugh every 20, 30 seconds for a fucking hour. I mean, it's really, when I'm sitting there watching it, I was just like, when I wasn't laughing, I'm like, fuck, that's another laugh. That's another laugh. That's, like it was, like I just had this counter going off. But I want everybody to know this. The funniest comics all showed up to support you in that. Like, there's something that you've been able to do with your life, if you think about that when you were a young guy, to know those people all showed up for you and were fucking like, yes, that was the special.
Man,
it's amazing.
It's still like, I think something that hasn't really set in because it was so surreal. I've never done a special in New York. And so to have everyone there and have it be like a true home game. But then, I think when you're under pressure, you get mad at shit that you shouldn't really get mad at. And Nate Bargatze is one of my best friends. And we speak in this very, like, when you have a good relationship with someone, you can go 2 weeks and then call them and it's just like, you didn't miss a day. But I got in my own head and I was like, I haven't heard from Nate. And that kind of just like bugged me. And I called Shane Gillis and I was like, I don't know, I'm just like a little upset that I haven't heard from Nate. I told Vecchione, I was like, I haven't heard from Nate. And Vecchione's like, yeah. And Vecchione's like my brother. Vecchione's like my big brother where he's like, yeah, fuck that. That's kind of fucked up. And I'm like, yeah, isn't it? And it's like, yeah. Where he's fucking start getting mad. And then in between shows, I see Big J come up the stairs of the Bowery Ballroom with this smile on his face. And then he opens his body and fucking Nate's like, hey! And I was like, you motherfucker! And I was like, but it was immediately I felt stupid and loved and then like all the things at once where I was like, what was I upset about? And I have such good friends that also happen to be the best comedians in the world.
It's true, man.
It's fucking insane. Joe List says that, and it always makes me laugh. He's like, we're friends with the funniest people in the world. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we're friends with Dave Attell. He's the funniest person in the world. Isn't that insane? And you're like, oh, fuck. You don't realize that.
Yeah, it's really, really true.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just have gotten over by being just friends with them, even if you didn't do anything with your career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's people who are like, I was at the Comedy Store with Letterman.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, sit down. I want to hear everything. But you're literally in that group and doing your own shit while you're being friends with those people. It's amazing.
It's it's so fucking great and humbling and just incredible. It's incredible from someone that used to just watch Comedian the documentary every night, watching Colin Quinn tell Jerry how to build an hour and be like, fucking Colin's the man. And it goes to that from him coming upstairs and seeing me at the cellar being like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, hey, Colin, and he's like, fucking, one of the first times I started to work in the cellar, he just looks over at me and goes, how tall are you? I go 6'3". He goes, you should be playing fucking middle linebacker. You're too fucking big. And I was like, man, it was surreal. Because Colin to me is the guy. Colin is like, to me, he is the top. He's Yoda. He's like, he would hate that.
Yeah.
He'd be like, fuck you, I'm fucking that old. But it's like he is everything. There's people in this business that you meet that you're disappointed you met them. There's people that you meet and you're like, fuck, man, that's who you are? And then there's people like Colin Quinn and Dave Attell and Jon Stewart, and you meet him and you're like, thank God. Yeah. You, to quote Dennis Green, they are who we thought they were.
All right, well, let's name some of the shitty ones.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, that's the real interest.
I got a couple of owners that I want to fucking wipe out. Time to tsunami some fucking unfair club owners. I'm still waiting for my advance.
But this is, this is already beyond your dreams, right? I mean, it's beyond anything that you would have hoped for.
I think there was a moment when I was a teenager in Aurora, and I was just kind of like so fucking directionless and just kind of like the only thing I enjoyed was getting fucked up and making my friends laugh. That was like it. It's all I wanted to do. I was trying to go to therapy. My sister got killed in a car accident when I was 16, and it kind of like
hold on, let the moan go on. That's really nice.
That almost felt like a sarcastic moan. Oh, fucking, here we go again. This fucking.
When I heard that whine like that, I'm like, is Bonnie McFarlane here?
That was Oh, I didn't know you were a loaf of bitch. Yeah. But I think there was this moment where I kind of just, everything was like, oh, fuck everything. Fuck life. I'm just going to get fucked up, and I just want to hang out with my friends. And to my mom's credit, she just was kind of like, hey, if that's what you want to do, don't go off the rails, but, feel free to get fucked up.
Yeah, because it's not in your family's DNA. So it's really smart.
Yeah, don't come from a long line of crippling alcoholism. Yeah, my mom was like, you've got to play. I was like, thank you. She gave me the Adrian speech. I want you to win. I want you to get drunk. But yeah, I don't know. It was like my mom kind of let off, kind of took her hands off. It was kind of like, just go and be yourself. And I think she kind of knew that I had a decent enough head on my shoulders that it would correct. It would.
So you were definitely the funny kid, right? Because I always think of like your whole crew, everybody that you came up with.
Yeah.
Are the naturally funny people. I don't think there's like a comedy nerd studying, just timing and you know what I mean?
I think we're like naturally funny guys who don't want to admit that we're massive comedy nerds. Because it's like anybody that I came up with, from Sam Morrill, Mark Norman, Joe List, like all these people, Creek in the Cave, Rebecca Trent made a very awesome incubator for a lot of young comedians. My group specifically came up at Creek in the Cave, where you could just fail aggressively.
Yeah.
And it brought us all together, but everyone, we were always just talking comedy. We were always just nerding out and being like, oh, did you see this person's bit? And fucking, oh, God damn it, Mulaney has this new one that's fucking perfect. And I saw, like Greg Rogel has this joke. And Joe List was the first person that I met when I moved here that was just like, let's just talk comedy all the time. And that just became how we bonded and got closer. He showed me he really got me into Regan, and I was showing him Hicks stuff that he knew but didn't really like, and I was like, you gotta give it another shot. And it just became this incredible thing. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We were just the people. I say there's two types of comedians. There's people that learn how to be funny, that learn the equation of A plus B equals C.
Right.
And then there's the people that are funny as a self-defense mechanism, just as a way as a life philosophy.
Right.
And I'm proud that my friends are the second.
And also I think for that kind of funny person, going to your first open mic is more difficult than it is for somebody who's studied comedy, because you're already thinking, I'm a funny person.
Yeah.
I know it. And if these fuckers tell me I'm not, who am I? You know what I mean? It's a really scary proposition.
I had a weird one where my first open mic, I was kind of like, let's just see how this goes. And it went well. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then I ate shit for 3 months.
Yeah.
Just every time I went, I was like, why is none of this working?
Yeah.
And this incredible comedian that was on the morning show at the radio station I worked at, named Dave Ashley, he's since passed away, but he was just an unbelievable guy that kind of came to me and was like, listen, I know you're trying to be a comic. Write jokes. Prepare. You have to prepare yourself for the stage, or else it's going to spiral. And it really was the first time I started putting down set lists and kind of ideas was because Dave Ashley. So
Do you think you could mention that to Big J so that he could do a joke twice? Is that out of the question, Jay?
Let me recorrect one of the best comics working. But Big J's a guy where I always say to our fans of Bonfire fans, I'm always like, go see, if you come see me in your town, you can see me once, you got it. Go see Jay multiple times, because it's a different show, because he's so fucking funny off the top of his head that it's I don't want to see Jay work bits. I want to see Jay ask someone a question and then it leads to finding out that the waiter bleaches their asshole. It's I like watching that.
Yeah. Well, good, because that happens every show.
Yeah.
Every show.
And I know everything about every waiter in this place. Yeah, but that's that's something where living with Vecchione and then doing a radio show with Jay, you get the best of both worlds. You get one of the greatest writers in comedy, and you get the most naturally funny off the top of his head guy. And so I feel kind of lucky just to be around those two so much.
It's very strange. We were talking about the whole crew that you came up with. None of you are funny in the same way. Everybody is this very weird, on their own path, but you guys run together.
Yeah, I think that was. I think one of the cool things about my group of friends and the guys and women I came up with were everyone wanted to be themselves, and we also came up at a time where I don't know if it's still the same, but you could check each other. I remember Nate being like, "Hey, buddy, you're sounding a lot like Bill Burr," you know, like 2011, because I kept going, right, you know, right. Just shitty jokes, me being like, dating's hard, right? You know? And Nate's like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
You know? And you're like, oh, fuck, yeah, I got to stop doing that.
You weren't even noticing
I was fucking rocking on the mic, being like, yeah, fucking. You know what I mean? Because Bill Burr's one of my favorite comedians, and I was watching him. He was a guy that just fucking blows your mind. And when you're a young comic, you're like, oh, shit, it's a thing where you're influenced. You're just genuine. You're influenced by it, and you don't realize you're doing it. But you have to have a friend there to be like, "Hey, kind of coming off like that." And you're like, "Fuck, sorry." And Nate is the best person for that. Hey, buddy, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you sound exactly like him. You're like, all right, shut up, Nate.
By the way, Nate sounds like no one, no human.
Nate sounds like if a
him.
basset hound became a human.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm sleepy. I'm always sleepy.
Oh, that's so fucking funny.
Yeah. But it's great. And it's like, you know, Michelle Wolf is a person that I talk to daily. And it's still that relationship where she's like, I think I've heard that joke before. And it's like Sam Morrill. There's always people, Mark Norman. There's people you can check jokes with at any time of the day. One of the coolest moments in comedy, and also one of the most embarrassing moments in my career, was Dave Attell is notorious for calling comedians and being like, does anybody do this joke? Vecchione is his go-to, because Vecchione's like an encyclopedia. One time, Vecchione was busy, and he calls me, and I was in San Francisco, and he goes, Attell's going to call you and run jokes. And then it's like getting a call from the president. You're just like sitting looking at your phone and you're like, oh, fuck. And it's unknown. He always calls from an unknown number. It's fucking true. If you ever get a phone call from Attell, it's unknown. So I'll never forget, I was in the back of a car in San Francisco and I picked up the phone and I go, hello? And he goes, Dan, Dave. And I go, hey, Dave, what's up? And he goes, want to run these jokes. Cereal. And he was like, I was into it. And he like fucking Tommy guns 12 of the best jokes I've ever heard. And then he finishes and he goes, does anyone have those jokes? And I go, no, not that I've heard of. Also, on that cereal joke, you could say, and he goes, not looking for tags. And I was like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. I called Vecchione and I was like, I fucked up. And he was like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. It's fucking Dave Attell. I tried giving him a tag like an idiot. But yeah, that was one of the most coolest and embarrassing moments.
Do you think that Dave even knows that people feel about him that way? Or
no, I think he really is like a isolated samurai.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he just lives in his little cherry blossom valley, just doing fucking smoking American spirits and writing the greatest jokes of all time.
Yeah.
And then when you tell him it, he just gets like...
Yeah, that's the worst
like
thing
when you
could
did
do.
Unmasked at Skankfest with Attell, it was like people heard Zeppelin was back together.
Right.
Like to get on the side of the stage to listen, it was just comics staring at a wall listening. That's what the side of Unmasked for Attell was, and it was like, he's the guy. Right. Dave Attell and Colin Quinn are the two most important people in the history of New York comedy. I truly believe that, in a way of like... And you're up there yourself, Ron.
Stop it.
I'm serious. I think there's these certain legends that fucking kind of make it okay for young guys to feel like they're comics. You know, you need the Patrices, but you also need the Collins. You need the guys to be like, shut up, you stink. And that's what Bobby Kelly, you know, Bobby was always like, Bobby's like my older brother. I'm an only child, but what I feel like an older brother is Bobby Kelly. Because he'd be like, shut up, stupid. You can murder for a half hour, but you can't fucking headline. And then I remember I was headlining Sanford and Sons in Kansas City, and it was at this shopping mall in Kansas. I'm walking through a hot Target parking lot to Cold Stone, and I call Bobby, and I'm like, Bobby, I'm fucking bombing out here. And he goes, you wanted to be a headliner. This is what it is. This is fucking what it is. And it's like, man, you need Bobby's, but then you also need like the Attell's for when you get off stage. He's like, that joke's funny. And you're like, what the fuck? Attell. I used to have this joke about homeless. I didn't understand homelessness until I started being an alcoholic. Because when I was young and I saw homeless people outside, I'd be like, go inside. But after 10 years of having a drinking problem, I'd look at a homeless guy and be like, man, I bet that guy was so fun 7 years ago. And I got off stage and Attell's like, that's really funny. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm just going to stop doing comedy now. Because when you have him, you know, it's why New York comedy is so special to me. It's just because you can just walk into a club and all of a sudden your heroes are just sitting there being like, are you next? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
I always think it's great when they come up and you're like, how are they? And like, they blow. You know what I mean? You're like, really? It's you? They suck.
I will forever be just a Conan O'Brien fanatic. Just because, I grew up on The Simpsons. His SNL years were unbelievable. His late night show was my favorite. But I got to do Conan twice. And the second time I did Conan, I didn't like my set. I just felt like the crowd was tired. The jokes could have been better. I could have been better. And I finished the set, and Conan calls me over to the couch to say goodnight. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I'd done the show before, so I'd met him. But this time he called me over, and he's like, comes back, he's like, Dan Soder, everyone. All right, we're leaving. And then at the end of the show, he goes, what'd you think? I go, I didn't like my set. He goes, that crowd fucking sucked. And I was like, holy shit, Conan. Yeah. Holy shit, Conan. Like, he leaned over and said that. I was like, I love you so much.
Yeah.
I love you so much, Conan O'Brien.
The problem with that show is that he didn't pull on his jacket and make his tie move enough.
He didn't cut his hip. His hip was caught. Fucking stuck. Someone cut me. You know, in the years of him doing that show, he never once had Andy come out and cut the hip.
Yeah, that's odd.
He could have been like, Andy, cut my hip, thanks. He freed me. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, when a legend shits on a crowd that you see, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're coworkers.
Well, you are for that moment. Your coworkers, and then he goes to his mansion, and you're back at the Hampton Inn, staring out the window.
No joke. It was a Hilton, and I ate Carl's Jr. looking at the old Vivid offices. I swear to God. I was just eating a fucking superstar staring at... I was like, oh shit, that's Vivid.
That is always the oddest thing, because here you are, you're on this major fucking TV show. It's got a giant budget. People, I've seen people come up just to take pictures with you as the guy from Billions.
Yo, Big J fucking loves...
Yeah.
We work in Midtown, and we have a lot of finance guys in the office with Sirius. And Big J knows I hate it, so he just goes extra hard, where he'll be like, my fee, right? And I'm like, God damn it, Jay!
Yeah.
And we'll be high as shit.
Yeah.
And that's when you don't want to get seen. And we'll be like, billions. And but that's like the friendship, that's the kind of friendship I had growing up that I love, that I have with these guys now, where it's like ball busty, and it's like no one thinks they're better than anyone. It's like, it's a job. It's not like, oh, you know, I feel like in this business you can get people that glad hand you a lot, and they're just like, oh my God, you're so amazing on that show. But for my friends, they're just kind of like, oh, it's your job. I haven't watched it. And you're like, oh, yeah, I don't care. You know, they're like, sorry, like I don't listen to your podcast. Fucking, what kind of bullshit is that? An amazing episode.
Right.
Shut up. What do you want from me?
Literally nobody has time to hear anybody's podcast. It's too fucking many.
It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. The only podcast I listen to, there's two podcasts I listen to, Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, because I like wrestling, and I listen to Last Podcast on the Left because it's like cool, funny, spooky stuff. And I'm like, I just listen to that when I play video games. But the rest of it, hey, cool. I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird to be like, did you listen to mine? And you're like, no. I thought that was the agreement everyone had. It's like, I'll do my podcast if you want to come on it. That's when we'll talk on my podcast. That's when you listen to my podcast, is if you're on it. But it's like, I really think it's like, all my friends, we have this, it's work funny. You know when you have a friend at work that you just get excited to see and you're like, fuck yeah, Steve's working today? That's how I feel with all my friends.
Right.
You show up and you're like, Norman's on this show? Fuck yeah. All right. Now we can shit on other people that aren't here. This fucking guy had a shift and fuck him.
I'll say this. I one of the funniest fucking moments of my life is I came on to do a live bonfire with you guys, and you had Norman pretending that he was a 360 in the back, and I never saw him the entire night. And it would just be fucking killer joke after killer joke.
This guy's gay.
Yeah.
Is he here? That's like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to describe what like the environment that the bonfires created, but it really is just such a show where I'm friends with all those people, and I go to work and you know it as a guy that's been in radio forever. When you're friends with the people you work with, you just show up and you're like, this isn't a job.
No,
it feels silly. It feels like when they let you pick your projects in school with your friends. Where they're like, what do you want to do? And you're like, I don't know, Volcano? And everyone's like, yeah, let's just play video games. You're like, yeah, that's a better idea. But it's like with Jacob and White Lou and Black Lou and Christine and Merkface, it's just, those are all people that whenever I look back at the bonfire, whenever it's over and whenever it's all said and done, I'll look back and be like, man, it was just so much fun that I could never call it a job. I couldn't.
No, it's skipping school.
Yeah,
it really is. It's skipping school and feeling like you're getting away with something because you are.
Yeah,
You're
you really
getting
are.
away.
One of my best friends growing up, Mike Fujak, we were in Amsterdam and Lou Witzke met up with us, and he was there with a friend, and we were at this cafe getting fucked up, and my best friend from high school, Lou was asking him, he's like, do you listen to the bonfire? And my friend was like, no. And he's like, why? He's like, because I fucking grew up with this guy. He's like, I don't care. Yeah, fuck that, right? Fuck you, Mike Fujak. Fuck you for not supporting me.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if we found out that he got in a car accident and died at this exact moment?
Dude,
holy shit, best unmasked ever.
Anyone that knows me knows I'm gonna frantically call Mike now. They're like, good unmasked. I'm like, shut up, Mike, are you okay? Yeah. Are you home? Where are you? But he told, Lou was blown away. He's like, you don't listen to the bonfire or whatever. And Fujak was like, no, man, I grew up with this guy. And then Fujak turned to me and he's like, it's insane that you turned hanging out in the garage into a career.
Yeah.
Because my mom, we'd always be able to smoke weed at my house. That was like the thing where my mom was like, if you're going to smoke weed, do it here and don't drive so I know where you are and none of you get arrested. And so my house just became the de facto, let's get stoned in the garage. But it's also where we just sit around and bullshit and make each other laugh. And that was like, for my friend to connect that from high school to now and be like, you turned it into a fucking job is like beyond me. Because that's how it feels. It feels like I'm at home with my friends in my garage, bullshitting and laughing about dumb clips we've seen on the internet.
You're basically saying that your maturity stopped at about 15 years old. Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, heavy trauma stunts you.
Yeah.
And I will ever be a 16-year-old boy.
Well, when I sat down to watch Son of a Gary, I was like wondering how deep you would go with this because you always talk about anxiety and stuff, but I never have really witnessed it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you might have not went as deep as you thought from the title, or because you have fun talking about your dad, but I'm sure it was a lot more difficult.
Doing the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, there was a moment where I was like, maybe I go real and go deep and like actually talk about like some of the real fucking sad details of my dad. Cirrhosis is such a fucked up disease to watch someone have because they waste away from the inside. Their kidneys, their liver eats itself. It creates a bile that makes you fucking look pregnant. Your face gets sunken. Like I walked in and saw my dad on Thanksgiving in 1997 and it looked like a 93-year-old man.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, you could have helped me punch it up before I recorded it, Ron. Where were you in July?
So it could have went either way.
But it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
And then I was walking from the cellar to the stand with Ari Shafir, and Ari was like, I was like telling him, like, I think I'm gonna have these moments where I get real. And I talk about it, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, you have all these great jokes about your dad dying of drinking. Just go work those out. Go be funny. And it really was like, if you know anything about Ari Shafir, one of his greatest strengths and weaknesses is how purely honest he is. He will just say shit that you don't want to hear. And sometimes you want to hear it, but most of the time you don't want to hear it. And then most of the time, it's just him walking around flopping his cock around. But he said that, and it kind of clicked with me where I was like, yeah, that's always what it's been. It's never been like, the sad shit's for therapy. The sad shit's for like actually working on it. The stage and comedy has always been like, how do I take this and make this funny? And just truly make this funny. And that's always been amazing to me that I could be funny in the shittiest parts of my life. When everything was just like collapsing. And you're just like, I'm laughing at it, so fuck you.
Right.
Because it really is. That's kind of the feeling I had when I was a teenager. I was like, I was so blown away that life could be so sad that I was just like, fuck this. This is hilarious. Just kind of like in a defiant way. Just kind of like, I'm going to make fun of all this shit. And I think it wigged my mom out.
Yeah.
I think my mom was like, cool, my son's fucking nuts.
But I always think it's funny when somebody says, yeah, but you're deflecting. You're like, I fucking hope so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because this is a hard fucking place here. This planet Earth.
Yeah, it's not.
Know?
I think we're. What's weird, man, is especially in the age of social media and how everything is marketed now, is everyone is an individual until it's your problem, and then it's like, oh well, let's not talk about that. Like for the better of the group, don't talk about it. But there's a lot of people walking around with heavy shit that need a way out, and I feel unseen and feel like and that's kind of, if there was any point to this special, it was like, just laugh at the shit that upsets you the most, and then other people's shit won't bug you as much. Because I promise you, if you're mad about shit that you read on Twitter or you read online, it's always the same. It has something to do with you. So just go in and fix it yourself and make fun of it, and then all the rest of it is bullshit.
Right.
This is pure bullshit.
You really touched them in a big way, I think.
I got 4 guys that are like, yeah. Everyone else is like, this sounds super fucked up. This guy sounds like a lot of, but I think there's a lot of people that hear fucked up shit and make jokes, and people are like, you can't make that joke, and it's like, but that's how I'm relating to this. I'm not trying to. They always try to bring the victims. It's always the third party. It's never the person you're talking about. It's always someone that's like, that's pretty fucked up, and you're like, well, let the actual victim talk if they're upset that I made a joke about this.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's the whole point that I make that point in the special where I say people with dead dads love dead dad jokes. They do. It's the people with the living dads that have the problems. And they're always like, that's not right. And you're like, fuck you, man. I'm not talking about you.
Well, I'll say this. My dad's only been dead for 3 weeks, so I'm going to give it a little while.
No, Ron, jump in now. Jump in now. Jump in while he can still hear you as he ascends to the heavens. That's where you want to get him on the way up. Also...
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Buddy.
I do want to officially welcome you to the Dead Dad Club.
Yeah.
It's a good club. It's a fun club. We have a biannual meeting that none of us show up for. Because he's never showing up again.
Do you know that you said one of the most inappropriate things to me when I came back from the funeral too? I saw you that day.
What?
You came on, I'm sorry about your dad. And then I was like, yeah, it's really difficult. And I go, he and my mom were married for 72 years.
I know exactly.
And then Dan said, I swear to God, this is true. He goes, oh, do you think this is going to be like a Johnny Cash, June Carter thing where she goes right after him? And I'm not kidding you. And
by the way, I said that and immediately I go, fuck.
Yeah.
Because I was like, because here's the thing about Ron. Ron is the coolest motherfucker in the world. Ron is, for anyone that knows comedy or has been in comedy, Ron Bennington is. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm saying that because I still get very nervous to speak to you. Whenever I see you, I'm always like, fuck, this is the most calm I've ever been talking to you. And it's on stage on this. But I saw him after and immediately like, oh man, I'm sorry. And then he said that. And then my just dumb brain was like, oh man, well that's always like, the next person dies because they're so sad. And I wanted to say it in a way of like, oh, your parents really loved each other. But what came off was like, well, get ready for another one. Dude, I remember walking away from that just going like this. Fuck. Because Ron's, like I said, he's the coolest motherfucker in the world. So he goes, yeah. Just when I said that, he goes, yeah. Well, I hope not. Fuck, I'm sorry. Ron. Yeah. Shit. Open my big dumb mouth.
Yeah. Normally when I do an unmasked, the guest gets really sad, but in this case, the host.
I fucking, I fucked up. Yeah, sorry about that.
No.
You know what? I blame June Carter.
Yeah.
I blame June Carter Cash for all of this.
You know, she went first, then
Johnny.
Second. Yeah.
So there you go. Theory broken. Oh, so we're fine. Fuck. Yeah, I don't know.
So let me ask you this, though, because you do bring it up and you kind of have fun with the fact that your dad was a heavy partier. But when you figured out to yourself that you were an alcoholic and you had probably been mad at your dad for being an alcoholic for, your whole childhood, how did that feel to,
I realized that
you're in the same spot?
Took therapy because I think I was always drinking of being like, nah, man, but I'm my dad died in a way that was like really fucking sad because he just lived with his mom in this small fucking town in Northern California with like white trash, capital W, capital T. I mean, people that you're like, this is impressive how shitty you are. Lake people. Are you familiar with lake people? If you live by a lake, you either have a lot of money or a lot of demons. And my father was a poor man. So, like the people, his roommate, Jim, I used to go and the only time I saw, my dad kind of stopped talking to me when I was 10 years old. He just kind of like disappeared when he moved from San Francisco to Lakeport, that's where my grandma lived. And then I stopped talking to him. He just kind of like evaded me, which is it's a weird thing for a 10-year-old kid to be like, hey dad. And he's like, I'll call you back. It's like, yeah, we didn't fuck. Why are you avoiding me like I want to be in a relationship with you? They used to talk to me like, we can be friends, right? But then they sent me out, my aunt, my dad's sisters sent me to Lakeport. She's like, I want you to go see your dad and we're going to surprise your dad. And so I like flew out there and surprised him. But when I showed up, it was pretty clear he didn't want me there. It was pretty clear he was like, oh, fuck. I got this kid for a week. Like, I'm supposed to fucking booze up. It was like July 4th, and it's a lake, so they have fucking boats. And it's just drunk people in jean shorts on water. A lot of Steve Winwood. A lot of solo Steve Winwood.
Oh, not even Traffic or Blind Faith.
Traffic or Blind Faith. A lot of solo Winwood being played. And it was like I saw for the first time, like, oh, this guy's a fucking, because my mom would say it when I was at home. My mom's like, your dad's a liar, your dad's an alcoholic. And I was like, shut up, he's awesome. And then I went out and hung out with him. I was like, oh, fuck, mom's right. And then I didn't talk to him for 2 years. Again, he just like, I went and saw him. We had a couple phone conversations and he disappeared. And then he got sick. And my grandma called my mom and was like, Gary's sick. And my mom was like, I got enough money where you can see your dad one last time or you can go to the funeral. So you got to pick. And I was 14, and I was like, well, I want to see him one more time. And that's when he was all fucking fucked up from cirrhosis. But I was always like, oh, he was a loser. He never did anything. So when I was drinking, I was in New York. I was doing comedy. I'd worked in radio. I was like, man, I'm doing shit. I'm not my dad. I just drink because I'm fun. And then I was in therapy, and my therapist was like, you're your dad. And I was like, fuck you. And he's like, no, it's happened. Like, you're drinking in a way where it's your identity. And that was his identity. And then he died from it. And I was kind of like, fuck. And then I quit booze. And then my career, I hate to say sound cliche or anything, but I actually started having a real life. I started learning how to build relationships and have real friendships. And I fucking got the most and best work I've ever got in my life. And I got better as a comedian, and I was improving. And it was like all these people were around me cheering me on as opposed to being upset that I quit drinking. And that's what I was afraid, that I was going to quit drinking. And yeah, I mean, I was afraid. I was like, I'm going to stop drinking, and no one, because in my mind, Soder, the last name Soder is like, oh, bartender, fun. What's up, man? Let's have a drink. Let's get fucked up. That's what my whole dad's family is like. They're just like that. They're like, we're going to fucking party till the sun comes up. And I was doing that, and I was like, why do I feel like shit every day? And then my therapist was like, you're an alcoholic. And then realizing that and putting that all together kind of freed me from, I think, going down the same path.
Well, here's the thing that I kind of just popped in my mind, and maybe I'm wrong. But when you were a kid and your dad was evading you,
yeah,
I think it wasn't so much that he didn't want to see you. He didn't want you to see him like that, because there's always this thing that you have when you're an addict and alcoholic is later I'll get it together.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he was running some kind of fucking fantasy in his head that I want to see him when he could be proud of me.
You know, it's crazy you say that, because I just remember the look my dad gave me when I was 14, and I came to see him, and he was sick at my grandma's house. And I remember turning the corner, but I remember sitting down to talk to him. I remember sitting down on this chair next to my dad, and he just looked at me in a way of fuck, kid, fuck, sorry.
Yeah.
This is it. Because he knew it. It was so, I mean, he died 2 weeks later, but it's obvious that it was oh, fuck, man, you feel like shit because of this. And I never thought of that. I thought I was oh, he's always partying, he's got his life. I'm just in his way. And I always felt like that. I was in the way. And then when you see a kind of an admittance of guilt, it creates not only sadness, but a lot of anger. Because you're fuck, man, why didn't you get it together? You could have. And death, anyone will tell you, death is a finality that sucks, because it means that relationship can't grow anymore. And I think that's kind of why I was always upset. I was like, man, we could have saved it a little bit.
But now, I mean, that's kind of a way that a kid thinks. Now that you don't have to see your dad as this thing that you want him to be,
yeah,
you could think to yourself, oh, I see he was a sick fucking guy.
Yeah.
And he didn't want me to see that he was a sick guy.
Yeah, and I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Literally until this moment. I never really thought because, I think addicts try to hide themselves from their family that they're affecting. And he did that, and
right.
I think my mom had a different approach. My mom's drinking got real bad, but then I just got in her face about it. Where I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And then she was like, all right, chill. At first she would come at me and she'd be like, you smoke dope. And you're like, shut up, Trish. And then it was just fuck that. Dude, you watch my mom and I, we spend more than 6 days around each other, and we're just two dogs circling each other. Just and you're like, it's fucking snapping at each other. And then at the end, you're like, all right, I love you. I'm sorry. Fuck, that sucked. But she was a person where we had a much more direct, open relationship where I could just be like, fuck this, I don't like this. And she'd be like, okay. And she would listen to me in a way that, my dad wasn't around for me to listen to me. But yeah.
Well, fathers and sons is a tough fucking game when everything's okay.
Yeah.
It's still hard to talk. It's still hard to be real. But what you went through as a kid, the fact that you were able to pull out of that later is just fucking mind blowing. You know what I mean? The fact that you broke the chain is so fucking rare. It's rare. And you did it while you were young, which is crazy.
I honestly, I would give credit to comedy, because I started being able to do sets in clubs and get paid. And I was starting to work on the road. And I was able to do Conan and I was doing things where I was drinking, but I was getting shit done. And then I was kind of like Brian Koppelman, who created Billions. Him and David Levine, I've known since about 2007. And I came back from Just for Laughs. I did New Faces Unrepped, as Chris Laker once famously called No Faces. And it was the first year we did it. And I came back with like management. I came back with management. And that was when I signed with Brian Stern, who fucking changed my life, who got me jobs. And I got to stop waiting tables and I got to start doing fucking stand-up for real. And I remember Koppelman always was like in my life as like a cool uncle. He was like I always say he was like my cool young uncle, where he would be like, hey, you want to hear stories about Motley Crue in the 90s? And I'm like, yeah. And then he'd be like, how shitty are those road gigs? And I'm like, terrible. And he's like, tell me more. Because he did comedy for a little bit, and that's how we met. And I went by his office after Just for Laughs, and I'll never fucking forget, he was sitting there, and he was like, man, the one thing in your way is alcohol. And he said it to me in a way that I felt exposed for the first time. Yeah. Where I was like, oh, fuck, because he's a smart guy. And he just saw that. And I was like, and immediately, my alcoholic response was, well, I'm only drinking beer now. And he was like, okay. And I was like, so we're cool. I remember that. And then for 2 years, I kept drinking and being like, nah, if I switch to beer, then I don't drink hard alcohol, and I'm fine. I can fucking go all night. And then it was one of those things where it was the mix of the most successful people I knew were telling me to quit drinking, and everyone that I respected in comedy, I had noticed quit drinking or doesn't drink heavy. They all, like, some people, I noticed like Louis C.K. would have like a beer. You know what I mean? And it turns out there's other problems.
This is the first I heard. What happened? What's up with him?
Oh, buddy. But it was, like, I just remember watching all the guys that I really liked, and none of them seemed to be around getting fucked up. They all seemed to be, like, busy, and they didn't have time to get fucked up. And I was always like, maybe I should quit drinking. Maybe I should quit. And then that mixed with therapy.
I love the fact that we're doing this in front of a room full of people that are drinking.
Yeah.
You know, they're all like this.
It's going to be fucking Patrick and fucking and Chris and Paul are going to be like, hey, could you do less anti-booze shit? Yeah.
They're all going, go back to the dead dad shit.
Yeah. I'll be like, also, you can get my book, How to Quit Drinking, outside. I'm going to pull a Voss. I'll be selling books outside. Outside.
You have no idea how excited I was. We're almost at the end of this, and that cocksucker's name hadn't come up.
Good.
So, bossroast.com. Let's fucking get it through.
Go to bossroast.com. Go download the roast. Yeah, God damn it. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's like, even being able to make that joke, it's still insane, because I remember watching fucking Bonnie and Voss fall in love watching TV when I lived in Tucson.
Right.
And you're like, don't date that guy. Yeah. And then now I'm like, oh, fucking Bonnie's Rich Voss is one of my favorite people on the planet. He's like a guy where he's in the ilk of Bobby and all those guys where you're like, man, they make it. They make you feel like shit, but then they make you also feel like the most welcomed person in comedy. And it's like, I fucking love New York comedy, and I love comedians, and I've been so lucky to be around some of the best.
I've been on the road with them doing the Creep Store, and I guarantee you thank you. But I guarantee you I will be on Dateline talking about the murder-suicide.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you as a character witness is going to be... I'm sorry that at one point Raina's going to walk up to you and say, thank you for the closure.
Dude.
Raina's going to be like, you brought closure into my life.
Let me tell you something. I don't know what it is about DNA, but that kid is so goddamn funny.
Yo, I have a picture on my phone of on the wall at McGuire's in Long Island. There is, at the comedy club, on the wall, it just says, I'm the fucking funniest comic. Raina Voss. It's like, she's like, I think she was like 8 when I showed that to Bonnie, and Bonnie was like, oh God. But that's also what I love. Like, I remember moving to New York, and Bonnie was pregnant, And Bonnie and Rich would walk in, and I was just an open micer. And I remember Voss being like, "Look at him. He's scared to look at me." And I was like, "Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck." And then now whenever I see Voss, I'm like, "Fuck you, Voss." It's like right when you walk in. Yeah, it's surreal. It's so fucking surreal to me to have an HBO special, but then just to be a comic in New York it's the best.
Well, and also, and this is the thing about you, is to have the people that are your peers or people that you admire that are fucking cheering for you, man. You have that. There's something about you that people like and respect. And, you know, before I met you, Jay was saying you got to get this guy on. And, you know,
I remember the first real person that made me be like, oh, fuck. Oh, my God. Oh, fuck. We're becoming friends. This is insane. Joe DeRosa. Joe DeRosa was like, man, I swear to God, that dude, Joe DeRosa, he's first off, he can take a punch as good as Voss can. Like, that guy takes abuse on a level where I'm like, I almost think he thrives on it.
Yeah.
But he was always the guy where I would go outside and smoke, and he'd be like, what video game you playing? Or we'd just talk about video games, and I was like, holy fuck. You know? And then he'd be like, yeah, I got to go to Burr's house. And I'd be like, oh, you're going to Bill Burr's house? And I was like, and then I remember I did check spots a lot. That's where they drop checks on the audience, and they bring up a young comic. And I was doing check spots at Stand Up New York, and DeRosa was there. And I was like, yeah, I got to get downtown. I might be able to get a guest spot. And he was like, oh, here's $20. Take a cab. And I remember being like, what? A cab? And that's just like, that was the beginning. And it was like, you know, I'm friends with like Joe and then Jay and Nate and List, and it all just kind of comes up. And then you look around, and next thing you know, it's 10 years later, and these guys are all fucking monsters.
They are.
Just unbelievable comedians, but also like family, you know? Like, just like there's a family figure. Like, I fucking love you guys, because when you lift each other up and you're honest with each other, it just makes better comedy. It makes more original comedy. It just makes shit that people, you know, that I'm thankful for, that we have fans that'll come out and fucking see us. It's the fucking best. It's a great thing. I don't know.
You know, I always think about people when to do Unmasked with them, and I always want it to be at the perfect time. But the fact that you have this special and everything going on, yet as young as you are, you're already reflected and you have gratitude. This is it. This is your time, brother.
Thanks, man.
And I wish you every good thing.
I appreciate it.
It's one of the real pleasures of my life.
It means a
Really
fucking
is.
honor. Thanks, man. I fucking love you.
Dan Soder, everybody. Dan Soder.